Yes.
The lead Spring Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 1619 of the War News stream. And tonight we have very big news, especially out of the Middle East, about some big events about to happen there, and also out of Europe as well. Right now, we're getting word that U.S. forces are preparing the order for imminent heavy strikes on Iranian forces to force them to surrender, and that could include striking energy sites across the entire country of Iran. Also, massive explosions have erupted in Russian cities, and these are some monumental explosions to say the least. And also, Iran attacked Kuwait and the Hormuz Strait again today, like an old bad habit. But it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to cover the past 24 hours of the news from around the world, as we have been able to hear of significant developments within the Middle East, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and the United States of America over the course of this day. As we have heard news and reports coming out from the United States that internal U.S. officials, privy to the information coming out of the White House, have started to state that the United States president has apparently given the green light for a major strike campaign to commence here incredibly soon by U.S. forces under the command of CENTCOM's area of responsibility. It is expected that these strikes will be happening at some point in between the next 24 hours, as it was largely planned to be able to mitigate the damage or the effects to the stock market by conducting the strikes or starting the strikes once the markets close. We have been able to hear that apparently the United States is also trying to recruit Israel into this next round of strikes and is trying to see if their firepower would be available along with the United States to be able to knock out a significant number of the transporter-Raptor launchers and also simultaneously conduct their coastal campaigns along the southern coast to eventually attempt to break the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. According to Iranian claims, the Islamic Republic of Iran has conducted an attack on a U.S.-led oil tanker convoy through the Strait of Hormuz, resulting in the damaging and loss of 2 vessels and the damaging of an additional other 2. We have not been able to see any proof that the United States has even begun convoy escorts within the area, which makes this story incredibly ambiguous, if not largely untrustworthy at the moment, as we generally have absolutely no verification or proof that this story is anywhere close to being factual or correct. However, we do have factual information that the Islamic Republic of Iran did conduct a missile attack overnight against U.S. forces in Kuwait, as Kuwaiti air defenses did report that a large number of ballistic missiles have been fired into their airspace and that they were able to successfully intercept a large number of them. We're not entirely sure how many of them actually made contact or impacted U.S. facilities within the Kingdom of Kuwait, but we'll most likely be getting that information within the next 2 days. Outside of this, we have also seen that the Saudi Arabians are now beginning to prepare a major escalation against the Yemeni Houthis, as we're now hearing that a multitude of different military actions, up to and including a full-blown ground invasion by Saudi forces into the Houthi lands, are being prepared and planned at this time by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Apparently, the idea or concept behind this is to finally destroy the significant threat to the kingdom once and for all, considering that it is now blocking the shipments of oil out of the Bab el-Mandeb from Saudi Arabia, and that they've also conducted ballistic missile attacks on critical infrastructure throughout the entirety of the kingdom. Outside of this information in Saudi Arabia, we have also seen that in other corners of the world, in the United States of America, we did get to see that unfortunately an F-35 did crash today in San Diego due to some sort of a technical error or a engine failure, and we also were able to hear that the Islamic Republic of Iran may have possibly been behind a large number of cyber attacks that were conducted within the state of Minnesota earlier in the day. Additionally, we've also been able to hear that the United States president has completely backtracked out of his original offer for the Ukrainians to license produce Patriot interceptors, and apparently we will also not be providing completed or finished Patriot interceptors either to the state of Ukraine, meaning that Ukraine's Patriot interceptors are largely going offline, possibly for the last time, unless if it's for provisions from the European Union of their Patriot interceptors, due to a U.S. lack of will to provide the state of Ukraine with any meaningful large caliber air defense interceptor systems, or to even allow for them to purchase those systems from the United States. We have also been able to hear outside of this information that within the war in Ukraine, Ukrainian long-range attack forces are causing significant damage to the Russian Federation's key facilities and industries once again. A major strike and an explosion has been seen within the city of Nizhnekamsk's industrial area just within the past hour, as Ukrainian drones were able to make landfall in that area, and further information came out from the Volgograd region that the Russian Federation's wild berries distribution facility has quite literally completely burned to the ground. We were able to get additional information on the Kaspiysk attack and was able to confirm that the Ukrainian armed forces did attack the naval yard within the area of Kaspiysk on the west coast of the Caspian Sea, and Ukrainian forces have also conducted attacks against Sevastopol and Rostov-on-Don, with the Russians claiming that several FP-5 Flamingos have been fired at Rostov-on-Don, although we have no verifiable proof of that report here on the air. All we have reports and proof of is successful in-air interceptions, but the altitude appears to be too high for it to be an FP-5 Flamingo. We have also seen that the Ukrainian armed forces have held their lines today, stopping any further Russian advances over the course of the past few hours, and that deep strikes have also been conducted near to the city of Donetsk on a major power plant, and also within the Luhansk city area. We have also been able to hear that news has continued to murmur and echo through the European Union and NATO after the KH-101 cruise missile attack on Poland, in which Polish authorities have finally confirmed today in full form that the missile was 100% verified to be a Russian cruise missile, something that we had already reported about 36 hours ago here on the channel, but the Polish investigation is finally concluded, and parts and analysis on the ground of the debris field is clearly indicative of a Russian KH-101 caliber cruise missile. The Polish have called for the Russian ambassador to have him try and explain why in the world a Russian missile blew up on Polish territory, and the French have openly condemned the action, stating that it's a significant violation and that France stands with the Republic of Poland. We've also been able to see that the Lithuanian foreign minister has stated that this is clearly an Article 4 invocation-worthy incident, and that he believes that that should be acted upon by the Republic of Poland, showing that right now NATO is largely trying to get an understanding of how they will react, and some voices are saying that reaction should be a lot stronger than they are, while we are seeing that within the Polish government, the reaction is about as mild and tepid as it could generally get. But we have significant amounts of news to cover from around the world over the course of this past 24 hours, and we're going to be making sure to get into it, starting with our largest stories first of the night, and then moving our way on down into the smaller stories of the night. And so moving us on and immediately into our largest stories of the day, that will be taking us immediately into the Middle East and CENTCOM's area of responsibility. As many of y'all will know, the Islamic Republic of Iran still continues to pose a significant strategic threat to the United States of America because of its continued developments of intercontinental ballistic missiles, intermediate range ballistic missiles, and also their nuclear weapons program, which still appears to be operating as far as we understand. More importantly, in terms of imminent threats that the Iranians are posing, is their continued blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, which is still ongoing as of this day today. If we take a look at marine traffic, we can see that there is a non-existent number of vessels currently transiting the Strait of Hormuz. And we can also note that any vessels that are within the area are largely either spoofed vessels or they're Iranian flagged vessels that are operating out of Bandar Abbas port and in between their islands inside of the strait. This means that at the moment, global oil supplies are still being completely deadlocked within this area of the Middle East, as the Islamic Republic of Iran does not appear to be relinquishing its control of the Strait of Hormuz at any point in the near future, and they have made it additionally clear once again today through an official statement that transit through the Strait of Hormuz will not be possible. According to a statement by the illegitimate Persian Gulf Strait Authority, they stated that due to the continuation of aggressive actions by U.S. military forces in the region, transit through the Strait of Hormuz is not possible. In short, a very simple message, but making it incredibly clear that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the Islamic Republic of Iran will not be allowing any vessels to transit through the strait and will continue to try and choke out the Western world by stopping 23% of the globe's oil from making it onto the open market. While this situation has been continuing, it does appear that, much like we were able to get from reports yesterday, the United States government is becoming incredibly frustrated with the fact that they entered a war and that they are still having to fight a war that has not ended, as they have not defeated the enemy, and the enemy has not defeated us yet either as well. And so currently we have been able to hear that there's been a decent amount of progress in that regard, that allegedly the president has now ordered new attacks on the Islamic Republic of Iran, according to insider reports that were given to the Wall Street Journal. We also were able to get some additional reports that were coming around as well, as CBS reported the following on top of this information and added that the United States and Israel are planning what would be one of the harshest bombing campaigns to date against energy infrastructure targets in Iran. Multiple sources told CBS News with strikes possible throughout the weekend. There was some discussion about trying to conclude by the time financial markets open on Monday because of concern about how the bombings will affect the U.S. and global economy, but an endpoint was not locked in. The Israelis have been notified and are coordinating with the United States, according to multiple U.S. sources. The president has yet to give final go orders for the strikes, the sources added, but of course we were able to see from the Wall Street Journal report, they then got information from other insiders that the president had largely given some form of authorization for large-scale strikes to start over this weekend. And to further elaborate, much like we were speaking about with that very same CBS article, they are starting to state that the targets are going to be energy-related within the Islamic Republic of Iran. So this might be the long-coming energy, or more so power plant and bridge bombing campaign that the United States has been, or more so the president, has more so been trying to spearhead as a main prerogative of the U.S. Armed Forces, instead of anything that's trying to focus against the maritime and anti-ship forces of the IRGC along the coastline, or any of the Transporter-Erector launchers, which are still firing ballistic missiles at U.S. forces even as of today, and are still causing significant damage to material plant of U.S. military facilities within the region, and also significantly, I guess you could say, harming the health of our service members as they continue to be wounded in these Iranian ballistic missile strikes. Nevertheless, the United States of America is also trying to find other ways to economically pressure the Islamic Republic of Iran outside of major strike campaigns, as the United States is also apparently preparing to conduct a full 5,900-kilometer-long land blockade against Iran, which would involve the cooperation of several neighboring countries, including Iraq, Turkey, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, to close their border crossings to the Islamic Republic of Iran. This has largely confirmed what the U.S. official said yesterday, and that the president was exasperated and there was really no strategy for how long the war was going to go or what they should be doing in the midst of the ongoing conflict. And it appears that at the moment they're now trying to see that not only will another round of bombing campaigns be conducted against Iran, they're also trying to stop any form of exports out of the Islamic Republic of Iran and into the greater world. The problem with this, however, is that we do not see that Afghanistan or Pakistan, if I remember correctly, was included in that statement. And just to make sure to go back really quickly and see if it was, actually Pakistan was, Afghanistan generally is not going to be involved or support any sort of a ban on Iranian goods and shipments. Well, you did see that the Taliban openly offered military support at the beginning of the conflict, and so any attempt by the United States of America in diplomatic aims to get the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, or the Taliban in short, to agree to stop any sort of shipments or transits into Iran would probably not go all too well. Additionally, Turkmenistan has a militant policy of neutrality, meaning that they're not going to take actions that show that they are American aligned.
There's just no way the U.S. can get all these different countries on board with us. I'm not buying that for a second. So we haven't heard the U.S. officials say that they have a plan to actually start this land blockade against Iran. But I would say the odds of this even being a realistic possibility are basically next to none. Because I mean, you can't get anybody to agree to anything in the Middle East. Do you think you can get every single country around Iran's borders to agree to cut them off? It's like I would doubt that extremely.
I would doubt that extremely. I would say that probably Armenia and Azerbaijan would easily get involved. Azerbaijan is very unfriendly to the Iranians, and the Armenians also are as well. But the thing about that is that the Iranians really don't have any trade to speak of that goes through Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, or Iraq. So all of those countries are pretty much completely out of the picture anyways, because it's like, what trade would really be impacted with that? It's not like the Iranians are exporting extreme amounts of components, goods, or materials via Iraq, Turkey, Armenia, or Azerbaijan. So really more so the country that would be trying to get on board, or the countries we would be trying to get on board, would be Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Turkmenistan, which are the countries to the east that are a part of significant shipping corridors over land to the People's Republic of China or elsewhere. And the Pakistanis probably will not agree to that, because that will start to put them in a somewhat unfriendly position with the People's Republic of China, which is a significant arms provider to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan at this point. And so they would probably say that due to their economic obligations, they really can't follow through with that. The Taliban would tell us to go to hell straight up. I mean, they're not even going to consider it or give a reason. It's just that we're the infidels, so they're going to tell us to go to hell. And Turkmenistan has a militant position of neutrality in foreign policy, meaning that they would not be willing, under really any circumstances, to take any actions that look like they're sympathetic or supporting the Islamic Republic of Iran or supporting the United States of America. I mean, they're going to say, look, I mean, if you want to trade with us as well, that's totally fine, but we're not going to stop Iranian trade either, because it's going to start largely breaking our neutrality. To explain this a little bit as far as how that works, because a lot of people don't know much about Turkmenistan. It's a fairly small stand series country in Central Asia. Turkmenistan is run by a dictatorship that is about as crazy, if not more insane, than the one that's in North Korea. Not in the way that they run labor camps and whatnot. It's just that the leader is like almost like quite legitimately nuts, like to put it that way. But the reason why they're able to get away with conducting what they do in Turkmenistan, is the United Nations has stated there's a significant amount of human rights concerns within the country, is that they take a militant policy of neutrality, which means that they don't get on anyone's bad sides for any countries in the world that may have any significant sway or international authority or power to start saying, hey, you know, there's some significant humanitarian crises and concerns within Turkmenistan. And so if Turkmenistan starts to upset that balance, any country in the world that has any sort of sway within that region could start to say, hey, you know what, we actually have a problem with the Turkmen government. And that would start to pose problems for their internal control. So Turkmenistan's going to do absolutely nothing to put them on a radar. They're just going to go, look, we're not involved in this. We're just taking a neutral stance, and it is what it is. So I don't really think a land blockade is going to be successful, given the fact that the eastern countries on Iran's eastern borders, for all different reasons, but all the same, will not stop their trade or overland routes with the Islamic Republic of Iran. But outside of that, though, a lot of people are talking about this heavy strike campaign that might be occurring within the next 24 hours. And from what we're largely hearing, it probably will be. And Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well?
Okay, so today we got our first really solid indication from mainstream media sources that apparently have sources within the U.S. government saying that the U.S. officials have prepared orders for heavy strikes on Iran's energy sites, possibly over the next 24 hours over this weekend. And it appears to be the U.S. officials are timing these strikes around the opening of the stock market on Monday, so that way it doesn't mess up the stock market. So this might be a very quick series of strikes if they're actually timing it that closely. But once again, it may not happen this weekend. It could come next weekend, or maybe they might launch it during the week. It's kind of hard to tell. But do you think that's a good idea, though? Striking energy sites in a very heavy way. Do you support that, or are you against it? 49% said it's a good idea and they should approve it, while 24% said really a long-term campaign is needed instead of a short-term one. And 21% of the audience said it's a bad idea. Energy is not a good target. So here's the problem with striking the energy sites. The moment the U.S. does that across Iran, Iran is going to start reciprocating on the energy sites in the Gulf states, and they're going to say it's justified because it's reciprocal. So that's going to create a problem, because As we've seen before, the Gulf states try to defend their infrastructure the best they can, but when Iran really tries to start targeting it, it's largely in the wide open. So that could put the desalination plants at risk inside of Kuwait and these other Gulf states. It could put all their power at risk too. And those countries rely heavily on desalination and all these other infrastructure plants. And without it, they're going to have a civil crisis on their hands. So I'm not really sure why they're choosing to go after energy sites. In my opinion, it seems better to go after the oil sites. I mean, that's an easier target. It's not going to be an energy site. And also, there's no worry about whether or not it's a war crime or not, because the energy sites are, arguably maybe civilian oriented, possibly, and not really more about the military. It's maybe half and half. There's a fair argument on either side. So I'm actually with the 21%. I think the target is not a good choice, but the heavy strikes are a good idea, but the target might be a little iffy. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say that I'm generally with the 23%. A long-term campaign is needed. No one day, one big strike, one great wazoo is going to fix this problem. That became clear with a 13-day campaign we conducted and the month-and-a-half long campaign we conducted in the first and second phases of the war. And now now for some reason, folks, the U.S. military leadership is starting to anticipate that a single night of strikes blowing up a couple of power plants is really going to get them to think about things and change their mind. And I have absolutely no belief, or any confidence for that matter, that that is actually going to get the Iranians to finally turn to heel and start negotiating properly. Why in the world would it? We have already seen that the Iranians are more than willing to slaughter their own people in the streets in 40,000 at a time in the middle of early January. So if a couple of Iranian civilians are without power, one, they're going to use that to try and radicalize the public by saying the U.S. did this to you, and that's why we're trying to fight against them, is because we're trying to protect you all from these people. And additionally, if this causes any unrest within Iran, they're just going to wipe these people out if they start going out into the streets. So it really doesn't do anything for us. In the best case scenario, it just knocks out the power for a decent amount of civilians, and in the worst case scenario, it might lead to another massacre within Iran or a radicalization of the people in support of the Islamic regime. None of those outcomes
But
really sound that good to me.
But if it's such like a large strike, like to me, it sounds like it's not simply hitting a couple of power plants. It sounds like it could be like such a large series of extensive, comprehensive strikes that they take out the vast majority of them in one fell swoop. That's what it sounds like to me. So even if it's like something that significant, where they truly like take out basically most of the infrastructure in the country, I mean, would that change the equation?
Probably not. I mean, like being entirely honest, as far as like the near future, I mean, probably like in a half year from now it would. But in the here and the now, militarily, it probably wouldn't be affecting them all too much. All of their ballistic missile capabilities are operated via transport erector launchers that are diesel powered. So as long as they have any significant reserves or stores of diesel that are stored where we can't strike them and hit them, and we would assume that there are fuel storages within the caves, then those transport erector launchers can continue to work for months before they even start to run out of fuel if the entire power grid went offline in one single strike. Additionally, the anti-ship forces and the maritime forces of the IRGC along the coastline would also be able to operate for some time as well, probably a couple of months, before they too also ran out of fuel and munitions in some way or another. And so while it probably would have a positive effect maybe in the long term, by then we're probably in an economic crisis over here because we've run out of strategic petroleum reserves and most of the world is going to be largely without oil and the prices will have skyrocketed well out of control by then. So I would say sure in a way, but the real question is it going to have a significant impact strategically before we're impacted strategically by their actions? And I would say that right now they would probably end up winning out in terms of the time game before we would with a strike campaign like that. And also on top of that, I don't really think there is a good justification to knock out every power plant within the Islamic Republic of Iran, because like you were also saying, they are going to conduct reciprocal strikes against the Gulf states, and if their power infrastructure goes off or it suffers extremely tremendous damage, or extreme and tremendous damage is a better way to put it, then even if the Strait of Hormuz blockade was eventually lifted, quite literally nobody in the region even has the electricity or the ability to operate their pipelines, their pumps, or anything else to get the oil to the export nodes and out into the open world. So that might end up sinking the entire situation, and then we might see that they have to go through months or a year of repairs to even get their power grid up and running, or their oil infrastructure up and running if all of them were attacked, to even try and get oil back out there. And once again, we've entered a financial crisis at that point because of an oil shortage.
Yeah, I mean, also part of me wonders if maybe this is like another bluffing tactic or something, because we had heard this before that the U.S. was thinking strongly about hitting the energy targets inside of Iran and wiping them all out, like in one fell swoop, all the energy sites. And then it never came to fruition. We never saw it happen and they backed out of it. And then they said the peace deal was back on the table. So right now, I mean, it's Friday night right now. The U.S. markets are closed. So if they're worried about the stock market, that's not a concern now. It's closed for the entire weekend. It's Friday night now. And right now, it's the crack of dawn in Tehran. It's 6:01 a.m. in the morning. So it doesn't look like the U.S. is striking tonight. And it seems like they would have if they were planning on doing it. Because if they plan on a couple of days of heavy strikes, then they wouldn't want to start striking on Sunday night because then the market opens the next day. So it seems to me like the window for the weekend is already starting to fade a little bit, and they haven't done anything yet, which is kind of interesting. I mean, we haven't even seen small-scale strikes on Iran so far, and Kuwait got attacked today. The Strait of Hormuz was under missile attack by the Iranians, and they were launching attacks near the Kurdish areas too, less than 24 hours ago. So I'm not really sure. Like they're saying the final order hasn't been given yet. But at the same time, though, we are seeing that Iran is taking it seriously. They're threatening the U.S. with reciprocal strikes already over Telegram. And also, they're evacuating their aircraft from the Tehran International Airport in Mehrabad. So apparently, they think it's real, or they're playing it safe and getting their stuff out of Dodge before it's too late. But I don't know. Like, maybe it's the calm before the storm, like Patty Mayo saying there in the chat, or maybe it's a bluff. It's kind of hard to tell these days.
But I mean, even still, though, like I would say, if the plan is we're going to somehow do enough damage to them in one day of strikes that they're going to finally be brought to heel, why would we think that? I mean, we bombed them for a month and a half straight, and then we bombed them for about 2 weeks straight, and now one night's going to fix the problem, but a month and a half and 2 weeks separately didn't. I was like, why in the world will one night be the magic number this time? It's a far smaller amount of time than any other strike campaign, and no matter how hard we're operating during that night or that 1 24-hour period, there is no way that we can conduct the number of sorties or the number of strikes that we're seeing over a 2 week or a month and a half long period like we saw before.
But But remember, though, they're saying Israel is going to get involved in this. If it happens, they're saying Israel is going to be attacking alongside the United States. So that doubles the force. So they might be able to hit more targets that way if Israel is involved with it. So if they do that, I think it might be possible.
Maybe, but I would say I'm fairly doubtful. Like I would like one thing I'd have to say is that I'm not really an optimist when it comes to this whole side of things anymore with this war, because we keep on watching them come around over and over. Like the second phase of the war, we're like, well, maybe they'll finally reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and then they give up before they even get close to seeing any kind of positive results. So, and also on top of that, I mean, as far as foreign policy decisions, if they even look like they're getting close to a breakthrough, right when they're literally like at 90% of that breakthrough, they're just about to get to it, they completely back off and they lose all the progress that they made. So I'm kind of expecting, just to be honest with everyone here, that we're probably going to strike a whole bunch of stuff tomorrow that really isn't going to have a lot of strategic impact on the greater picture, and then we're going to just be back in limbo land like we are right now, and figure out what in the world we're going to do next. And they're probably going to try and figure out, well, maybe if we just do another bombing campaign like that again, maybe that'll do something about it. I just, like, I hate to say it, folks, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news or the voice of dejection, but it's at this point, so with how this war has gone so far, I just don't really have a lot of positive feelings or a lot of hope about them finally doing something that's going to make sense or produce some sort of a positive outcome.
But they got it though. I mean, they have to do something though. I mean, like I said, Kuwait got attacked again today. Some serious attacks there, and also the shipping in the Strait of Hormuz is still under heavy attack, regardless of what CENTCOM's saying about the strait allegedly being open. It's not. So I mean, they have to do something. I mean, right now the Iranians are putting their foot on our neck right now. That's what they're doing, and we're gonna have to get that foot off our neck eventually, or otherwise it's going to actually cause some real consequences for everybody. They're going to keep running out the interceptors in the Gulf states until finally, civilians end up getting hurt in those states because the missiles make it through. And also, the Hormuz Strait is going to continue compounding until finally there's actually a global crisis because of it. I mean, that's still a problem.
Yeah, I mean, all that's a problem, but that's taking the understanding that the administration understands and recognizes those problems, and they feel like they have an obligation or a duty to fix the issue before it culminates into absolutely destructive results. And so far, we have never seen that sort of a decision-making process by anybody in the administration so far. If the strait is closed, no, it's not. It's just open and it's fine. If the Middle Eastern countries are getting hit, no, they're not. That's a lie. Fact check, everyone's fine. And they just continue to largely run disinformation campaigns to say everything isn't going bad, it's just going great, and they just completely deny the reality of the situation so that way they can do whatever they want, regardless of what our actual realistic confines or restrictions really are.
Yeah, we'll have to see in the meantime, but we'll just have to see how it goes this weekend and see if anything if even happens.
Yeah, I guess I guess we will really. But moving us on out of that bit of news inside of the Strait of Hormuz, we also were able to additionally hear that as well. It appears that the Saudi Arabians are preparing for some major actions against the Yemeni Houthis at some point here in the near future, and this might actually be one of the few positive developments that we have heard of in the Middle East at this point. As we were able to hear today, that according to some information that came out, Saudi Arabia is apparently preparing to conduct operations against the Houthis that could include airstrikes, naval actions, and a full-blown ground offensive, possibly. The reason for the escalation is the threat to the shipping in the Red Sea, as the Houthis, who control part of Yemen, announced a blockade of Saudi vessels and threatened attacks on oil infrastructure. Riyadh has begun deploying troops and is creating an international coalition to protect the trade routes, and at the same time, Saudi Arabia is trying to avoid a direct conflict with Iran, which supports the Houthis. But due to the threats, some oil tankers have already begun bypassing the Red Sea via Africa, increasing oil delivery times and also shipping and handling costs for the shipping rates, as they're having to travel a far greater amount of mileage to be able to make it to some of their delivery points globally. To show you all a little bit of the shipping passages within the area, we actually have both of them right here, including the Strait of Hormuz on the top and the Bab el-Mandeb here on the bottom. This actually shows us a bit of a day-by-day ship transit figure, and we can actually see that the number of ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz has once again gotten down to quite literally nothing on the 30th of July, only 5 ships in a day, and generally we're seeing that the passage through the Bab el-Mandeb has largely not been heavily affected yet. Only the Saudi tankers, the ones that are being affected, and it appears that the Houthis are leaving all of the other vessels alone, so companies and insurers still feel confident enough to be able to insure these vessels, and companies feel confident enough to tell their vessels that they can pass through the Strait of the Bab el-Mandeb and make it either to the Suez Canal or out into the Indian Ocean. So right now we're not seeing any significant effect, at least in global shipping, that the Yemeni Houthis have conducted against the Bab el-Mandeb outside of Saudi oil tankers, but it is always possible that at any given moment, if the Saudis conduct enough hostile actions against the Yemeni Houthis may just announce a complete blockade of the strait to punish everybody in the world that supports Saudi Arabia, or something along those lines. It would generally be some sort of a trumped-up claim. That's usually how they work, and they would be using that to shut down the Strait of Hormuz for an indefinite period of time until their demands were met. We have also been able to see outside of this news in Western Yemen and the Houthi lands that further on up and within the Islamic Republic of Iran, they've made it incredibly clear that they are once again ready to fight the United States. As Tasnim News, in short, not to read the entire statement to y'all, but Tasnim News largely stated that they are prepared to conduct a comprehensive plan to respond to any potential American recklessness, as they call it, and they state that if any American attacks are conducted against the Islamic Republic of Iran, they are prepared and able to conduct significant strikes in return.
They're freaked out, like whether or not this actually turns out to be a real action that the U.S. takes. I mean, clearly, Tehran is freaked out bigger than hell about it, thinking it's actually going to happen. It's weird, though, because, Tehran has the upper hand in the Strait of Hormuz still, and also they're still launching attacks on all the Gulf states, largely unopposed for the most part. But at the same time, though, they still get really shaky whenever they think a heavy bombing campaign or Israel is coming back into the mix. I think they might be more worried about that, about Israel jumping back in and going ham.
Yeah, I honestly think so. Like, being completely honest, I think they are worrying about it a little bit. But they're probably just worried that the Israelis might be getting involved, because right now, with the Israelis possibly getting involved, the Israelis can end up wiping out all of the government officials again. So that might be the reason why they're getting it worried, is because none of them want to get martyred per se. We also were able to see that a large amount of aircraft are leaving the Mehrabad airport within Tehran. It looks like they're most likely fleeing either further east into Mashhad, within the far northeastern corner of the Islamic Republic of Iran, or they may be trying to leave the country and hang out elsewhere so that way they cannot be targeted and destroyed by future upcoming U.S. strikes if they were trying to hit and destroy U.S. aircraft. We also were able to see another news outlet report, NBC News today, that the Russian Federation is providing satellite surveillance and signals intelligence that may help the Iranians target U.S. forces within the area. Quite obvious that that would be the case. The Russian Federation is an enemy of the Republic, and therefore they are going to be conducting actions that are in support of other enemies of the Republic in wartime. So nothing incredibly new there, to be entirely honest with y'all. Meanwhile, we have also been able to see that the Islamic Republic of Iran did not sit around quietly today, and they did launch a decent number of drones towards the Kingdom of Kuwait. We actually got footage of that right here. Quite loud.
Little angry mosquitoes. Look at that. I see they've started adopting the jet assist little drones right there.
Yeah, it generally does seem like they're starting to use a lot of jet-assisted takeoff drones, which is very interesting to note. The Kuwaiti air defenses did report that these drones entered the airspace and the Kuwaiti air defenses were active. We also were able to see the standard drone threat alert from the Ministry of Defense of Kuwait, and they reported that all of the drones that were entering Kuwaiti's airspace this morning, or the Kuwait's airspace this morning, were shot down, with falling debris being seen in some areas. Of course, the Iranians claimed that they completely destroyed everything within the Islamic Republic of Iran, and they, actually the Kingdom of Kuwait, and they claimed that they were able to hit a couple of air bases that the United States operates out of in Kuwait, although we generally have absolutely no proof or verification that such a thing happened. I always have to tell folks that while we generally report the news as accurate as we can, we also have to keep in the fact that most reports from both sides at this point are completely unfactual, if not just straight up lies, and the Iranians are master liars. They will lie about quite literally everything they do within the Middle East, and if they fired off a single drone, they're going to claim that 500 drones were fired and that they just wiped out a million U.S. soldiers, when in reality, that's the maximum number of U.S. soldiers in the U.S. Armed Forces amongst all branches. But nevertheless, a lot of people are also talking about the U.S. forces and their possible upcoming attack against Iranian energy sites. And if this is conducted, will the Gulf states be able to defend their own energy sites from inevitable Iranian counterattacks? And Matthew, what are people thinking about that? And what are you thinking about that as well?
Okay, so assuming that the U.S. follows through with their threat to strike the Iranian energy sites all across the country, do you think the Gulf states will be able to fend for themselves, or are they going to be in some deep trouble if Iran starts launching reciprocal strikes? It looks like 55% of the audience said no, the Gulf states are not going to be in good shape, and their interceptors will likely end up running out, while 25% said yes, they will defend well enough, and 15% said I'm 50-50 on this one. So I would say this, there's a big difference between Iran targeting a military base inside these Gulf states versus targeting the energy infrastructure. There's largely not a lot of defenses around the infrastructure. There's a lot of defenses around the bases, because obviously that's where the U.S. forces are at, and it's also where the Kuwaiti army is located as well. So they concentrate their defenses in those locations, but around the energy sites and desalination plants, it's not as concentrated as the bases when it comes to air defenses. So I would say that they'll be able to defend themselves in the short term. They have enough interceptors right now and enough stockpile to fire at most of the missiles and drones coming in from Iran. But the problem is, though, if Iran keeps it up and tries to overwhelm over the course of several days, that's when they start running into a big problem. And we saw that the last time that Iran tried to target the desalination plants, they did a consistent strike campaign to wear out the interceptors using cheap drones, and then they sent the missiles in once the interceptors were exhausted at that point. So I'm with the 55%. Over the course of time, unfortunately, I think the interceptors will run out, and then the U.S. has a big problem, because then they have to get more to those countries in the midst of an active, ongoing missile attack, which is extremely difficult. So, Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that their interceptors would most likely run out, and they probably get overwhelmed by Iranian counterattacks, as we do understand that Patriot stocks are incredibly low for the United States currently, and we are able to understand that there is clear proof of that, because the United States just had to fulfill, or largely put out, a $57 billion acquisition order for PAC-3 Patriots from defense industries here in the United States of America, showing that there is a significant shortage, or a significant amount of them have been expended, and munition counts are low. This means that whatever munitions that the Gulf states have at the moment is really all that they have to deal with, because the United States is mostly going to be prioritizing its own self-defense stocks of Patriot air defense missiles before they start sending out export orders to Gulf state nations and European countries, meaning that right now air defense is at a premium in most countries within the Middle East. That means that if the Islamic Republic of Iran starts to conduct attacks against these countries, and the only air defense that they have is Patriots, they will have to fling a several million dollar Patriot missile at a $40,000 drone every single time one comes into the airspace. As far as the spending war goes, that war is one that cannot be won on our side, and eventually the drones and ballistic missiles would start to overwhelm their air defenses, largely grinding them down into non-existence, and then would be able to strike whatever targets they would wish within the area. Meaning that generally this might not be that great of an idea, because we may see that the damage within the Gulf state nations is actually far greater and far more damaging to us than the damage we inflicted on Iran really was to their economy or their military and strategic capabilities. Because the Iranian strategic capabilities, folks, will be able to carry on even with the complete cessation of electricity, because one, all of their weapon systems generally are mobile and operated off of diesel generators or some sort of a power provided by the vehicle. And also additionally, the other thing that we have to consider is that they have a significant number of weapons that have been stockpiled inside of their missile cities and caves throughout the country over the course of decades, meaning that there is going to be no such thing as a supply shortage that immediately comes into place, because they're not producing a ballistic missile and then having to ship it direct to the frontline units that are firing against us. They're able to go to the missile cities and the stockpiles of missiles they have within those missile storage sites and access those instead, meaning that they would be able to continue on military activities probably for months, which would make it an incredibly difficult situation for us to work with, because while we did knock out their power plants, we really wouldn't be able to, we really wouldn't see a reprieve, is the best way to put it, from continued Iranian military actions for the foreseeable future during the short term of the next 6 months. So I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. But moving us on out of that, we have also seen, not only within Kuwait, but within Iraq today, there was a significant fire at the Al Abdab oil field within Iraq. The cause is generally unknown, at least at the moment, but it is quite a significant fire. It may have been Iraqi militia activities or pro-Iranian militia activities that saw this happen within their territory. It's a little bit unclear, but hopefully we'll be able to get some further information from the Iraqi government, maybe. But that's only if they can get their act together. They're not going to give us any information, like, if we're being honest.
Also, by the way, that's just flaring right there. That's all that is.
Oh, yeah, that looks like totally normal, like, industrial activity, really.
I love it, man. Every single time I share, like, a video, like, on a short war video or something like that in the midday, there's always at least 5 or 10 people that comes in like, "That's always just flaring." It's like, that's not flaring. Yeah, like, you telling me, like a nuclear style, like, oil explosion is a flare? It's like, what the, and it'll always be somebody, like, from an oil state. They'll be like, "I live in Texas my whole life, and I know what a flare looks like." It's like, well, you apparently don't, because that's an explosion.
Man, it's like, also, man, it's like, do they know what dementia looks like? Because it's like, it's like, honestly, you'd have to be crazy to think that that's like an oil flare. It's like the base of the thing is several hundred feet wide. That either is a brand new oil flare that we've never heard of, or that's the damn biggest one in the world and it just got in the Guinness Book of World Records. Either way, it's not normal. But outside of that, we also were able to see that within southwest, actually moving us on from that clip and bringing us on into Israel, there was some Israeli air activity that was reported within southern Israel over the course of the day. We're not entirely sure why that was there, but we have a little bit of a reason, as we were able to hear that, of course, the U.S. is trying to get the Israelis in on the strikes coming up here in the near future against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and they're trying to see if the Israelis will join us for that final push over the top. So maybe they will, maybe they won't. We'll have to see. We are not entirely sure what the position of the Israelis are at this point in terms of providing military assistance to U.S. strategic ambitions within the region. So we'll have to see how they react or if they join in on these strikes coming up tomorrow.
Man, if I have a feeling that you'll know if Israel's involved. If all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, Iran's exploding in literally every inch of their territory, I can almost guarantee you that Israel has to be involved at that point. If the strikes are like if the strikes are like breathtaking and it takes your breath away to look at them, that's got to be Israel's in there somewhere doing something.
I mean, probably, man, that'd probably be our best way to find that out, really, because, the Israelis, they don't hold back, do they? They always seem to, like, drop 2,000 pounders, and a lot of them,
Yeah, always.
Always. We also were able to additionally see that within the area of the Arabian Sea, we were able to hear that a satellite picture came out recently from the Sentinel showing the USS Abraham Lincoln or the USS George H.W. Bush about 20 nautical miles east of the Omani coastline. So it's actually quite close to the Omani coastline. It's about right there. But for geolocation purposes, that's not really concerning, folks, because, in short, an aircraft carrier is always moving at about 30 miles an hour usually. So if it was there when that satellite picture was taken, it's probably well beyond there from this point. So moving us on out of our Middle Eastern news, it's now time for us to pop on over and into the United States of America for a couple of brief developments over here, because we have been able to see, folks, that over the course of this day, there have been quite some interesting developments. I mean, some very interesting ones that have come out of the United States of America that are going to be sort of segueing us on into the situation with the war in Ukraine. And making a hop, skip, and a jump over the United States, we will stop in Morocco really quickly, because we were able to hear that Russia has imported about 30,000 tons of gasoline from Morocco to ease the fuel shortages caused by Ukrainian drone attacks on major refineries. In reality, this isn't really going to do a lot to help out the Russians. They're still going to have crippling fuel shortages, but this helps them to get out some fuel for the people who might need it, or to maintain basic functions of the military and also the government during this time of crisis within the Russian Federation. Russia has also turned to India, Belarus, and Kazakhstan for fuel, while domestic gasoline production has fallen sharply because of the ongoing Ukrainian drone attacks against the Russian Federation, of which there were more today. Also, I'm sure that many of y'all will know that there has been a whole deal going on. Like yesterday, we weren't going to report on it because it seemed to be a little bit of a domestic political thing. But to give you all a little bit of a of a synopsis of what's happened with the whole Ceuta affair, if we want to call it that. A couple of thousand migrants basically charged the border with Spain yesterday in this area, which is this is Spain's small enclave basically along the Moroccan coastline. Thousands of them stormed the city yesterday and started to loot and largely pillage the city. It looked like, quite literally like the invasion of the Mongol army in like the 13th century AD. And so because of that, it's actually caused a pretty significant I guess you could say a row within the European Union, because now a large amount of countries, even including the Republic of France, are stating that Spain should be suspended from the Schengen area, which is basically the free transit EU citizen has throughout the European Union, because of the ongoing migrant crisis that's now going on in Ceuta, because they're concerned that those migrants, once they make it into Spain, and Spain possibly gives them refugee status, they could just start free-flowing throughout the whole of Europe, and they're not entirely sure if these people pose security concerns or whatnot, so a large amount of European countries are actually wanting to boot Spain out of the Schengen area for that.
Also, by the way, people were saying 60,000 people. Is that the number that you've heard?
No. I heard like 7,000, I believe.
Let me pull this up real quick. I'm kind of curious at this point. Let's see, Spain. Let's see here what the number is. I see a lot of people saying 60,000. They're saying, so Visegrad 24 said more than 50,000 illegal migrants broken through. Man, that's crazy, man. That's like now look at this, folks. If a lot of these people are like fighting age males, I mean, you could easily make the argument that this is an invasion, like easily. I mean, that's a large amount of forces right there. I mean, let's just take, for example, let's say there's like people in there that's intending to do damage, like hybrid warfare or something. I mean, that's a lot of people right there. And these people are running in there and being chaotic and committing crimes and stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't know if anybody's like orchestrating this or something, but certainly, I mean, 50,000 people, that's crazy.
50,000, dude, that's literally like one of the armies of old. Like, dude, the siege of Vienna, I think the Ottomans had like 60,000 troops at the siege of Vienna. One of the biggest battles, mind you, all of the 17th century. And apparently that's the amount that went into Ceuta. What is the population of Ceuta anyways? I thought it was like around that number, I think.
I mean, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, what is the pull up the population of that place real quick? Because I mean, if 50,000 people invading the place and like the population is like similar to it or something, I mean, technically it's getting occupied.
Damn. So this is almost a number of like the natives versus basically an invasion of migrants, almost of 1-to-1, because the population of Ceuta is around 83,000 people. So there's almost one migrant for every citizen of Ceuta at this point in that area right now.
And also, it's growing, by the way. Like, it's not static. The number is growing over the days. So not to mention, that's going to collapse their infrastructure there because they can't feed that many people, number one. Number two, they can't do law enforcement either because that's too many people and it outnumbers law enforcement, I'm sure. And it's like, what do they do? Like send in the military and try to basically reinvade their own territory, the Spanish military to retake it? It's like, I mean, that's wild, really.
I mean, honestly, my question is, where the hell do they come from? Like, didn't they see them kind of like wandering through Morocco up here? I mean, there's a city here called Fnidek, that looks to be just south of Ceuta. It's like, didn't anyone like say like there's like a huge army of like just like military age dudes just wandering up to Ceuta? Like it's like who in the world like why in the world? Why in the honestly, man, it's kind of a little bit interesting that such a large group. I mean, it's quite literally like a field army from like the Napoleonic era. It's like how in the world did they just go unnoticed until they wandered up onto the Spanish border in Ceuta?
I don't know. That's probably why they're so angry with what it's Morocco where they came from, isn't it?
Yes,
That's where
it's
they're saying they came
Morocco.
from. And
Yeah.
that's probably why they're so pissed off and angry. And also probably that's why Italy's up in arms too about it. Would be my guess. But it's like, what the hell was Morocco doing? Not warning people and not going out of their way to like make sure these people can't go invade like the neighbor like that or swim across and go invade Spanish territory. I mean, I'll be honest, folks. Like this to me seems like this might be something concerted. I'm not sure if maybe like a hostile power like Russia might be trying to like push this forward or something like that. I'm not sure what it is, but I mean this is unbelievable.
One second, I want to pull this up. Uh-huh. That adds up. That adds up. Manny, where are these people from? Are they from Morocco? Like these people who crossed into Ceuta?
I think they're from the continent of Africa. I'm pretty sure.
Well, let's see. Can you find that information for us? Like, do they have like any understanding of where they're from? Because I mean, it would be kind of odd. I mean, for them to just come from like Africa in general, because I'm sure that they weren't like hoofing it over the Sahara or anything. So they had to come from somewhere nearby. I feel like most of them are Moroccan. And I want to get an answer to that here really quickly before I throw out my conspiracy theory, because I think I have a pretty Loctite one if they're mostly Moroccan.
So it says here, it just says they came from Morocco. It appears to be they're just calling them migrants. They're not really saying exactly like what nationality they are for the most part. Just looking at the crowd, it's really kind of hard to tell. There's a mix of everybody in the crowd there. It looks like they're definitely young males. It seems like the majority of these people are young males for the most part, about 20 to 30 to maybe in that range or so. I mean, these are not like what you'd call feeble, like, folks looking for a new home, like to
Oh,
get somewhere just to like settle down. These people are acting wild.
so everybody in the chat, Matthew, is saying they're mostly from Morocco, and apparently some people are laying out the rumor that Morocco cleared out some of their prisons and kind of did the Belarusian trick of let's just kind of like corral them across the border. And you know what's interesting about that is that Morocco has had an ongoing border dispute over the territorial sovereignty of Ceuta, and they have claimed for a very long time that it's theirs. So it could be that this is an orchestrated sort of an attempt by the Moroccans to literally just flood into Ceuta, basically a whole bunch of migrants, and say, well, it's basically just ours at this point, or to make it so difficult for Spain to be able to control Ceuta in any meaningful way that Morocco goes, look, we could just take it off your hands and it could become a part of Morocco. That might be a deal you might be willing to take. That might be what it is, because it seems a little bit weird to me, folks, like if we're being honest here. Out of everywhere that they could have come from, they come from Morocco. There isn't really an easy way to get here. It's just say like kind of like just hoofing it. Like if you're like a legitimate migrant or a refugee or whatnot, and you have literally no money at all, and you're trying to get somewhere where there is money to make some, it's like, well, they're not going to be hoofing it over the Sahara or anything like that, to be able to get to the spot. So they had to have come from Morocco, and if they
They're
come from
swimming. They're all swimming across. Like you saw these. Like we can't show the video sadly because it's now mainly been taken by mainstream media that takes it. And it'll copyright the hell out of us for showing those videos. But I mean, there's video after video of like literally like humongous like packs of people like swimming like onto the beaches and just running ashore. Like it looks like the Normandy landings or something like that, like D-Day.
Well, yeah, they had to swim around this wall right here. So they like, from what I heard, they made it down this beach. Like they just literally bypassed the customs. Off of, I mean, God forbid. But they walked down the beach and then they just swam around the wall and then they started making their way down this beach from all the footage that I saw, and then they started flooding into the city itself. So they had like they're not swimming from like the mainland of Africa, because I don't really think there's a marathon swimmer they can do a couple of 100 miles. They're just swimming around the wall. But they came from Morocco up to Ceuta, then swam around. Honestly, folks, this sounds to me like the Moroccans are taking a page out of Belarus's book, where Belarus got all of those Syrian refugees, flew them up to Belarus, and then started corralling them with tear gas and batons to try and flood across the Polish border. It sounds to me
Oh
very
yeah.
similar, and it sounds like the Spanish did not see this coming, or they just didn't really consider that to be a problem, and now it's a problem.
Yeah, really. I'm not sure really how strongly people feel about that. But I mean, if a country is being invaded, it doesn't matter if the people have a military uniform on or not. It's like if people are flooding across the border, I mean, in my opinion, that's a military situation at that point, where you defend your country at all costs. That's the way I look at it. I know some people might take that as an extreme way, but I mean, if you let tens of thousands of people like flood into an area that's really small, like this area here of Spanish territory, I mean, it can easily get occupied like it has been, and it's really hard to get it back at that point. So I'm not sure what Spain's planning on doing about that. I've heard that they are trying to like deploy like I think their National Guard forces or something to go deal with it. But it's like once you have that many people in there, it's like what do you do at that point? Like try to round them all up and arrest them all, or like what is their plan?
I mean, honestly, man. I mean, if I was in the government in Spain, I would look at this as a state of national emergency. Well, not national emergency, but regional emergency. I mean, really, the only thing I could think of, folks, because it's basically lawlessness. I mean, basically having one. If we want to call, like, I'm trying to think of the right, we'll just call them migrants for the hell of the discussion. But if you have one migrant for every single citizen in that region, that is a state of lawlessness. Basically, none of them have been processed. The Spanish government doesn't know who they are or what they're doing there, and we also don't know if they're going to be trying to travel further on out of Ceuta, completely out of the confines of any sort of processing by Spanish border guard authorities or the Spanish border guards. So there's literally no documentation for them at all. That's a significant concern, and not only that, they could pose a significant risk to public safety. So really, what I would do is I would declare a state of emergency or martial law within Ceuta and deploy the military to start rounding them up, temporarily detaining them, and then kicking them back into Ceuta, and then well, not Ceuta, but into Morocco, and then put a military guard along the border. That's what I would do, because like this situation, and I'm not trying to get into the domestic political discussion here, folks, but this situation is quite literally out of control at that point. If that's the
Oh
number, you
yeah.
really can't. Like, there's no way that you can go, well, maybe we can discuss it with them. It's like, no, 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 this is way out of control. Like, this is going beyond anything that requires any semblance of reason. This is an emergency situation that a handle has to get put on immediately.
Yeah, I'm not a Spanish citizen personally, but if I was a Spanish citizen or I was in the government over there, I'd be one to set a strong example over this because if countries in Europe start letting stuff like this happen, it's like this is going to become more widespread because it's going to tell other countries, like if Morocco did this on purpose, which is not really clear if they did, it's going to tell other countries you can just start doing this and you'll largely get away with it if you successfully send enough people in to go take an area. You can just take it. So, I mean, they should send the military in and make sure that they set an example here on this one to make sure that other people don't try to replicate it.
Also, I saw someone say, "Well, they didn't come out of Morocco." Well, the thing, like, I would have to say, it doesn't really matter where they come from. It seems to me like this is a Moroccan conspiracy, most likely. Like, that's kind of what I'm really thinking at the moment. Because there's no way in hell that Morocco just saw a band of 60,000 people and didn't pay attention to them at all, wandering wherever the hell they were. I mean, that would get the attention of any government. Like, people don't really know this, folks, but when the migrants come flooding up to the U.S. border, they're usually coming from countries like Guatemala. And as soon as they cross the border, because it's usually in a giant group into Mexico, the Mexican government has an eye on, because they're also concerned. They're like, this is a giant crowd. We don't know if they're going to create a state of lawlessness wherever they go or start looting and pillaging. So we got to keep them corralled in. So there's no way in hell Morocco just didn't know about this. I mean, they had to have known about it. And I'm guessing that they either corralled them up to Ceuta or they just let them wander up to Ceuta if they wanted to. And they didn't do anything to stop them or even notify the Spanish government until the crisis was literally upon the Spanish in Ceuta. And this might be some sort of a larger conspiracy, at least kind of what I'm thinking. But I would have to be honest with y'all, folks. This one's quite a interesting one. Also, by the way, folks, to add in the Schengen area deal, because we'll have a mention of this later on, not to get into a huge rabbit hole, but the Schengen area is the European Union agreement that there is absolutely no borders or customs inspections as far as international travel throughout the European Union. And so citizens from Spain can travel freely throughout the whole of Europe like it's the United States and elsewhere. And a large amount of major countries in the European Union as of today are actually demanding that Spain be removed from the Schengen area for a temporary period until they get the situation under control. So that's a direct result of the situation that's happening right now. But we actually have breaking news coming out. So Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so Iran has just begun laying siege in the Strait of Hormuz right now, apparently. It looks like Iranian forces have begun launching missiles at vessels in the strait. There's one vessel that's confirmed to have been struck by what appears to be an Iranian missile that hit the engine room, and they're saying the ship is no longer in command. I don't have the name of the ship right now, but it appears to have been taking or nearby to the Omani route, close to the Omani coast, which the U.S. forces are telling ships to take. So it appears to be it got struck right around that area. So I would not be surprised to hear about more of these. We heard about allegedly two of them earlier today that apparently got struck, and Iran put out some little short video that was very vague, showing two different vessels on fire, apparently in the video. So it looks like they're back at it pretty heavily again, which tells me once again Iran is not looking for peace. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. I'm Captain Obvious with that one. I think most people would agree with that, except for the government at this point. But it's pretty serious attack. But Enforcer, what say you?
I have to say it is quite a serious attack, and it does look like the Iranians are continuing to try and conduct their reign of terror on commercial ships within the Strait of Hormuz and stop any passages of oil tankers or any other vessels in or out of the Strait of Hormuz, as they are still attempting illegal control of the entirety of the waters, including the international corridors used for trade and travel within the area. So it looks as though that sort of a situation is still continuing, and once again showing that the United States has to take military actions of extreme measures to be able to try and bring the situation to a victory, or at least to return it back to the status quo. So I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion.
Real quick, go check Flight Radar 24 real quick and see what the U.S. Air Force air activity is looking like, because I'm kind of curious. If Iran's launching stuff right now, then what's the Air Force doing? Are they nearby? Are they patrolling? Or like what are they doing right now?
Let's see here. They are currently. I'm betting a lot of them do not have transponders on. We can see. Oh, actually, that's not a U.S. aircraft.
What's that one right there in the middle of the Persian Gulf that's out there in the middle?
That's a KC-135 doing refueling loops. So there's one out there that has a transponder on, but there might be several more, or it may be that the U.S. air presence is largely non-existent today.
Interesting. I would assume it's out there supporting fighter jet activity, I would assume. So you would wonder, it's like if there is fighter jets that are active out there and they're flying around patrolling, it's like, why aren't they hitting the anti-ship site? They just launched the anti-ship missiles at that vessel near Oman. It's like, it seems like that'd be a logical thing to do. But kind of interesting that they apparently haven't.
Man, that's something. It's also something that they're already getting hit anyways, because like there's a constant U.S. air cover over the area. It's like, how in the world are ships always getting hit? But I guess that's a question we'll never get an answer to, at least for now. But moving us on from that breaking news development, down inside the Strait of Hormuz, we just got news, folks, that another ship was attacked. Before we move on into our U.S. news, or the rest of it, because we still have a little bit to go here, before we move on into Europe, I do want to make sure, folks, to take a brief moment to be able to get to some questions. And I also got to thank everyone who's been here so far tonight. Over the course of an hour and 7 minutes, we have seen that a whopping, let's see here, 17,500 people have been here at the peak, and around 74,000 people have watched this stream over the course of the first hour and 7 minutes. We're always entirely honored and greatly appreciative of some of y'all being here, and we hope that y'all stay around, because right after these questions, we have a significant amount of breaking news to get to from the United States and also Eastern Europe with the ongoing war in Ukraine. And so, with that, before we move on into that, Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so jumping into our first of the three super chats and getting right back to our breaking news, which I have a feeling we're about to get some more out of the Middle East here in just a second. We have our first super chat, which goes to Eric Brown. And thank you very much, Eric, for the largest super chat of the night, a $100 support. And we appreciate it very much. It's that support, like we say, like a broken record all the time, that is the support that keeps our channel running. We do appreciate that very much. And Eric said, the scariest thing I see in the pictures coming out of all of that is fighting age young men.
I saw a lot of videos of it yesterday, and generally I didn't want to touch it because it usually becomes a political topic. Anything to do with immigration. I mean, there's going to be people build a wall, and it's like, I don't want to get into that side of things because it just becomes uninformed. But outside, like as far as like, it doesn't have a lot of like intelligence usually behind the argument points. But I would say that this is an absolutely ridiculous sort of a situation going on in Spain, because now that we're getting a lot more details of it today, I mean, there's really no way in hell, being completely frank with anybody, that anybody can say, "Oh, well, it's just the poor military-aged migrants, all traveling in a literal army-sized element into a small province of Spain on the African coast." It's like, you really can't make that argument. It's like that's just a matter of a loss of control. It's a descent into lawlessness. And at the moment, I would like that region is in a state of emergency or is descended into a state of lawlessness. It's like the region has gained twice the number of people within it, population wise. Half of them are undocumented at all, and we don't know who they are, what they are, whether they have a criminal background in the country that they came from, or what kind of a mindset or a psychological capacity they have. I mean, they might be prone to extreme violence. It's like we don't know. We literally don't know these people from Adam. So it's like I don't like. I'm not a big fan of that at all. Like it's like I'm not a big fan of that at all. If I was in charge of Spain, I would be flipping out right now. I don't like, and to be entirely honest with y'all, folks, I don't even know how in the world you would go about this because you would literally have to declare a state of absolute martial law in Ceuta and just go around rounding them up as quickly as you could, and then immediately expelling them to wherever the hell they could go, or putting them in some sort of a temporary holding area until you figure out a country that's willing to take them.
Oh
That's
yeah.
like
And
it's an insane situation.
And also, it's like, if these are so-called people just trying to find new life, like a better life, it's like, why are they immediately entering the country, breaking and entering into homes, like robbing cars and committing crimes all over the place? It's like, that doesn't seem like a people that are trying to, like, be calm and simply come in there and like try to build a life. It's like, I get they might be desperate, they might be hungry, but it's like, if their first thought is to jump in there and start committing crimes all over the place, that's not a good first start, and it's not a good sign either. And also, I mean, the fact of literally invading the place and illegally entering, that's a crime in itself. It's just that, I mean, we can delve into bizarro world if we want to, where it's like, oh, well, maybe they should. It's like, no, they're illegally entering. They can't enter the country like that. And especially not by the 50,000 plus. It's like, that's insane.
And also some people be, oh well, they're disenfranchised people. It's like, yeah, they're disenfranchised people, but it's like a country has a national right to limit how many disenfranchised people they let in, or if they let any of them in at all. And it's like you can't like anybody who's trying to make the argument, it's completely senseless. Like, I'm just going to be frank. Anyone who's trying to make the argument, oh well, that's totally fine, and if they are like pillaging and looting, it's just because they come from a different environment. It's like, well, that's not what Spain's about. Like it's like it's like you don't see people in Spain just going around going, I feel quite hungry, throwing a brick through someone's window and then climbing in to steal whatever they got in the pantry. It's like that's not really a Spanish kind of a mindset, or really a Western kind of a mindset. So it's like I don't really get the argument there. It's like if anyone conducts if for the fact that they're there at all and that they illegally enter the country, that's grounds for deportation
That's not,
immediately. But conducting any
well, that's
violent
like,
acts.
That's not acceptable anywhere, though. It's like, not just for Spain or any other country. It's like, name a country anywhere, like even countries that aren't like you're really like high end, that allows you to go around committing crimes and breaking into places without some type of punishment. I mean, you do that in some countries and they'll simply chop your hand off over it and stuff like that. It's like, it's not acceptable anywhere. But apparently these people are invading thinking they're pushovers, and they'll just do whatever the hell they want in these countries they're invading.
Like honestly, I just like I'm sitting here, man. I'm thinking about it. It's like, how the hell do you even deal with this? It's like, honestly, man. It's
You
like,
don't let it
damn.
happen in the first place,
Well,
but
yeah,
that's
but
number
now that it's
one.
well, yeah, but now that it's happened, it's like, how in the world did they even deal with this in Spain? It's like you would have to send in the whole Spanish army to deal with this, basically, because I don't think they have an incredibly large ground force. Either it be the National Guard or the regular army. It's like you would have to quite literally send in the whole army and the National Guard to probably try and get the situation under control. It like this is like to be entirely honest with y'all, folks. Like this situation here, it's basically like a medieval siege. It's like the enemy's gotten into the city, and now you got to bring in a relief army to try and get them out because it's like I'm like thinking, damn, it's gonna be insane. There's probably I've already seen the clips, folks, of people busting into houses and whatnot, and also trying to beat up the locals. And I've heard some people in the chat say that apparently some locals have been killed, unfortunately. But it's like you basically have to send the army in and just say it is an absolute state of chaos. You're literally going to have to go street by street, finding these people, holding them at gunpoint, and detaining them. And then if they're not going to be detained and they're conducting violent actions, then you have to take whatever actions, lethal or non-lethal, you have to take to bring the situation
Bring
under
in
control.
Bring in the skunk trucks, those ones that have the skunk water that Israel loves to use. Bring those in. Bring in the LRADs. Bring in all the riot control measures to push them like back toward the shore. And then once you get them back to the shore, obviously they either have to swim out of the area, swim back out into the water, or you can detain them on the beaches or something. But it's like you have to corral them into one spot so that way you can start detaining them. Otherwise, they're scattered everywhere and it's impossible.
I mean, you could do that. Another thing you could do is that you could have the military start detaining them in the thousands, and you could set up some sort of temporary holding facility. And when I mean temporary, I quite literally mean temporary, out here in these hills, in the non-populated area, and figure out where they're going from there. Or if you can't, like, the reality of it is, folks, is that if nobody's willing to take them, like Morocco says, we're not taking them back, then you just got to hold them there indefinitely. And it's like, well, damn, it's like, that's going to be some, or you know, they could just do the same thing that Morocco did and just put them all back on the beach and, you know, corral them by prodding them and poking them until they swim back across the border and back into Morocco. You know, that's another option, because if Morocco was willing to let this happen to Spain, I don't really think anyone in the world could really have any point or scruple with Spain doing it in turn to get them back out. So I don't know. Like, it's a wild situation, though. I will tell you all that. I mean, this is something quite literally that is unheard of in the modern day. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, but the migrants, though, like, you know, the guys who like ride the boats across the English Channel. Yeah, but it's like a couple of dozen at a time. You know, that's like that's a totally different thing than literally an army-sized element, an army group literally wandering right across the border into someone's territory. That's a totally different can of worms. I mean, you could get a police squad out there on a beach to deal with like 30 guys hopping off a boat. This literally takes an entire army to probably deal with at this point. Totally different problem. I mean, this is of an unbelievable metric. But we'll have to see how the Spanish deal with it, because right now I haven't really been hearing a lot of Spanish governmental statements on the situation. So, you know, we'll have to see how it all turns out. But anyways, also, by the way, folks, on kind of the bright side, though, regardless of however Spain deals with it, they're probably about to get kicked out of the Schengen area. So if you're in Europe and you're saying, oh, this is like crazy, well, it's not like anyone's going to be leaving Spain, because they're going to have to go through customs at the French border or the Italian border if they somehow get there. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And a huge thanks to you once again for support, Eric, and help with this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a $50 support from Jeff Erlong. And thank you very much, Jeff, for that 50 as well. And we do appreciate that very much. And of course, that does help the channel keep running. And Jeff said, love you guys.
Hey, and a big thanks to you for support, Jeff Erlong, and helping this channel to keep it running. And we love all the folks out there in the LSA. And I gotta say, humongous thanks to you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And so a humongous thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we're on to the last question of the segment, and then we're going to be moving on to the rest of the news for the night.
And this one goes to Slim Jim, who put in a 50. And thank you, Slim Jim, as well, for that $50 support. And also, by the way, if you've thrown in a super chat beyond this point, we will get those during the second question segment. So don't worry, we're coming around to it here shortly. But getting back to Slim Jim's 50, and thank you once again for that support. I said, buy you and your bro some of them yummy Costco chickens and some Diet Cokes, and keep up the most excellent reporting in LSA.
Hey, and a big thanks to your support and that Costco chicken and that Diet Coke fund. I've never seen a thin person drink Diet Dr. Coke, so I think I'm probably going to be the only one taking advantage of that. Diet Dr. Pepper, I think is what it was, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like,
Dr. Pepper or Coke. You mix them both together.
I've never seen a thin person drink a Diet Coke, so I don't think Matthew's going to be taking advantage of that part of the fun, but I certainly will. Okay, so I gotta thank you greatly for that support and helping this channel to keep running. Long live the Lee Spring Army, and the Lee Spring Army will never die, and thanks to amazing support like yours, we'll be able to keep this channel running. And so with that, it is time for us folks to move on out of that question segment and that rabbit hole on the situation in Ceuta and on over and into America, as we were able to hear unfortunate news today, folks, that an F-35, we will not be able to show the video, did catch on fire today at the Marine Corps Air Station Miramar in San Diego. From what we understand, there was some sort of an engine failure at some point in the aircraft's operation. The pilot is safe and apparently has really no injuries, but the aircraft does appear to be a complete loss. It's set on fire in a field and burned to the ground. These things do happen from time to time, and I know that a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's a very expensive plane, and that's true. But there is not a single U.S. military aircraft that has not had some sort of a peacetime incident where they've crashed or they've had an engine failure or the pilots mishandled the aircraft. Things like that do happen sometimes in the military, and this is just another one of those unfortunate incidents. We have also been able to hear as well that in Minnesota, there was a significant cyber attack that happened today, and the Washington Post has reported that the U.S. intelligence agencies have assessed Iran was likely behind a coordinated cyber attack targeting more than 30 municipal water systems in Minnesota, though officials say the assessment is not yet definitive, and the FBI's investigation remains ongoing. According to the Post, the attack disrupted control systems at multiple water facilities, but did not contaminate drinking water or cause widespread service outages. The report notes federal cybersecurity officials have warned for months that Iranian cyber actors have been been targeting internet-connected industrial control systems used by U.S. water, wastewater, and energy facilities. Previous Iranian-linked cyber attacks have targeted water infrastructure, including incidents involving Pennsylvania utilities and repeated CISA warnings about Iranian exploitation of programmable logic controllers, but those cases were narrow in scope or attributed after law enforcement investigations rather than through contemporaneous intelligence assessment. So we are seeing that, unfortunately, there was a significant cyber attack that was conducted in Minnesota today against the water infrastructure of some of the localities. Luckily, nothing really came of it, but it is still somewhat concerning. I also got to
You
say,
know, You know what's crazy about that is that's the exact same method that the U.S. intelligence agencies used to sabotage the centrifuges that Iran was using to enrich their uranium. Back in the day, they injected a script into their systems and specifically targeted the industrial controllers, those systems that control the centrifuges, and that's how they sabotaged. They messed up the frequency of the rotations and messed up the enrichment process. That's exactly apparently what Iran did to the water facilities too. They got into those industrial controllers and did a number on them.
yeah, I would have to say it does appear that they did use a very similar sort of a system, a hack in a sense, to be able to try and get into the infrastructure. But I would also have to say it's quite concerning that they can do that, because it's like, what kind of damage could they end up conducting? And it's not going to be anything bad. It's not like they have like the arsenic bottle in every single water facility and then you just hack into the mainframe and have the arsenic pour into the water. It's like, why the hell would a water management facility have poisons connected to the water supply where they just pump those in at any minute? So it's not really like any real damage could come out of this, rather than the fact that maybe sewage could be left untreated and then recirculated into the water supply. That's a possibility. But still somewhat concerning that they were able to get into the systems at all. Outside of that, though, and getting us on into finally some Ukraine war news and moving us on into that, we have also seen that the President of the United States has officially done a 180 on the Ukraine getting Patriot license production capabilities. As many of y'all will know, just a few days ago, there was a question that was asked to us about the United States and their current foreign policy position on Ukraine. And I said, oh, it's like, honestly, it's like the U.S. position hasn't changed. Words are, actions are louder than words, and the U.S.'s actions show that they're still not in support of Ukraine at all. They just kind of make it sound like in words that they're kind of in support, in a way of Ukraine. And Matthew said, well, I don't know about that. What about those PAC-3 missile license production rights that Ukraine just got? And I said, oh, hell, the president will back out of that probably within the next few weeks. Matthew said that 2 days ago, and we were already getting reports yesterday that the president had backed out. It has become official today that the president is completely backed out of providing licensing rights to the state of Ukraine. And we've now heard that the president has warned that they must be very careful about giving weapons licenses to Ukraine. So now it went from Ukraine is worthy of getting weapon licenses to now it's extremely dangerous to give weapon licenses to Ukraine, and we have to be extremely careful about it. Additionally, we also were able to hear that the president then added that the U.S. had not agreed to provide Patriot missiles to Ukraine, but they were just talking about it. The comments come weeks after he said that Washington would grant Kyiv a license to manufacture certain U.S. military equipment. So now we're understanding that it went from Zelensky is going to get license production, which was said quite literally just a few weeks ago by the president, to now today he's saying that they never even agreed to that and they were just conversating about it and that they might get it at some point in the future, but they're really not. So it appears that that whole thing was just a wash. Like, I'll be honest with y'all folks, I felt like it was going to be a wash when we saw it coming around the pipe. When I heard they're getting the license production rights, I was like, I don't really know about that. I was like, I don't believe that's going to be happening. And it looks like they backed out of it quite literally before it could ever even be implemented. So Ukraine just did a whole bunch of legwork figuring out who could license produce the packs for them, or if they could produce them on their own home soil, for it to all be for naught, because now we're not going to give them licensing rights. So, it is what it is at this point. What can I tell you?
That's concerning, though. That's really concerning me. I can kind of understand on one hand why the U.S. might not be giving a whole bunch of Patriot interceptors to Ukraine from our stockpiles, because we're running through them like crazy in the Middle East, like legitimately. Like, we really can't afford to give away too many of them right now because we have no other way to defend our partner states in the region in the Middle East. And if they start getting hit, that can result in the desalination plants and everything going out, which could create a humongous humanitarian crisis, way bigger than anything in Ukraine would ever be, in my personal opinion. So it is disappointing disappointing, though, to hear that apparently they're not going to let them license produce them, or at least right now they're withholding that decision. I'm not really sure why. I heard some argument earlier today that they're worried Ukraine could turn on the United States later on down the road. But, I mean, there's ways around that. They could simply let Poland house the facility and then send them into Ukraine, possibly, or something like that. They could just simply let something like that happen instead.
Yeah, they could. It doesn't make any sense at all because we're not offering to even give them Patriots, the 300 that they were asking for, to try and get them through the winter, and now we're also not going to let them license produce it as well. So we went from the U.S. saying we are going to try and help them in some way to where they're quite literally getting no help at all. And also, folks, pairing that with the fact that the Department of Defense said they're not going to give the 400 million to Ukraine until this president's term has ended in 2029. Kind of makes it clear to me, folks, that the whole statements currently by the U.S. government about actually the Ukrainians are actually the good guys, that's a whole bunch of BS. They don't believe that at all because all their actions are showing that they're actually cutting out even farther support, literally pennies at this point, to make sure that the Ukrainians don't get a damn thing. They don't get a single missile. They don't even get the rights to make the missiles for themselves. They don't get any money. They don't get anything. At this point, the U.S. is quite literally providing not a damn thing to the state of Ukraine in any ways whatsoever. And what's wildly bizarre about that, folks, is that while we're not willing to give our allied nation any military support, the Russians and the Chinese are more than willing to funnel any and every type of military support that they can to the Iranians, which we're trying to fight. So right now, the Iranians have a bit of an upper hand because they're able to get support from all of their Axis powers, but our allied nations and our sphere of influence don't even get support from the main part of the sphere of influence, which is the United States. So the Chinese are more than willing to take on a little bit of a loss and go throw weapons at the Iranians so they can fight us pennies on the dollar for what it would cost them to fight the United States. But then when it comes to Ukrainians fighting the Russians for us pennies on the dollar, we can't give them squat. A little interesting with that. But we actually have more breaking news coming out at this moment. So Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so we have a very odd piece of breaking news right now. This is actually, believe it or not, coming out of a region we don't cover a whole bunch these days. It's North Korea, actually. North Korea has just put out a pretty wild statement right now, saying that the expansion of U.S. forces in Japan is turning the country into what they call a war state, and that the U.S. is bringing a deep, ominous fortune to the region, and they're threatening action against the United States, Japan, and the partners in the region. So they've put out a pretty strong statement here. I've never really seen one quite this direct, and also it looks like it came from the Korean Central News Agency, which I think is the official news agency of North Korea, I believe. So take a look at that. That's kind of interesting, actually.
I'd have to say this is quite interesting. Also, why the hell are they writing this like it's the damn Peace Village? Like, man, like it's like the Peace Village in Joseon. But anyways, beyond that though, this is a statement by the Korean Central News Agency. The headline is "The U.S. Army is turning to war command," and this was apparently written quite literally just minutes ago out of Pyongyang. So let's take a read from the Hermit Kingdom. The United States is adding new strategic instability to the Korean Peninsula and the Asia Pacific region, bringing a deep, ominous fortune. On July 26th, the U.S. military commander said in an interview with a Japanese newspaper that since last year, the U.S. military command in Japan has increased the number of U.S. military commanders in Japan, making it possible to respond quickly, which was not possible before, and that it has personnel to maintain the round-the-clock system in all combat functions. In the Asia-Pacific region, we must prepare for the crisis, not on whether or not it will occur, but on the premises of when it will occur. We will be prepared as possible with Japan. And he shrugged it off.
Shrugged it off.
I don't know, man. This is like written by like a kindergartner, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I was hardly making it through the first part. Man, it just says the U.S. military commander said in an interview. It's like, well, who? It's like, who is that? Like, what rank does he hold, and what position is he? But anyways, this is a part of the plan to reorganize the U.S. military command on Sunday as an integrated military command with practical operational command, which has mainly carried out administrative tasks such as the management of the Japan-U.S. status agreement in the past period, showing that the U.S. military headquarters on Sunday is changing its occupation into a war command that is clearly commanding the U.S. military and its national forces in the region. I guess they've never heard of Indo-PACOM, have they? As is known, since last year, the United States has been reorganizing the U.S. military on Sunday to launch the Unified Forces Command and recognize the U.S. Pacific Command in Hawaii to give some operational command. The basic key to the reorganization of the U.S. military on Sunday, which takes place in the third phase, is the unified command of the Self-Defense Force, which was launched in March last year, and the U.S. military's command system on Sunday, so that the U.S. and Japan can conduct operations in the event of a similar situation. In this case, the purpose is to strengthen.
Jeez.
The purpose is to strengthen the U.S.'s foreign aggression force with its own field force, which has its own wartime operational capabilities. But the important point is that Japan's self-defense forces will be used as an assault force and a basic combat force for all-out war in the Asia-Pacific region. Already last year, the U.S. embarked on a reorganization of U.S. military headquarters in Japan. Japan will be at the forefront of all the contingencies we face in the Western Pacific. This is a pledge. What does this mean?
A pledge. What does that mean? It's a pledge. A pledge to do what? Like a pledge? Like what are they pledging to do? They didn't really. They explained their grievance, but they didn't say what they're really going to do about it. That part kind of got lost in the midst of that in that mumbo jumbo.
Did you understand any of that? Like, I was reading it, dude. I was busting out laughing because it read like that confession that they made that poor guy, like Warren Breyer, read. Man, it was like, I got money from government of the United States to do crime in North Korea. It's like it's the same like writing.
It's just really wordy, but I mean, the only parts in there that actually matter is those two highlighted red sections. The rest of it's like struggling to get a point across. But they're saying that the U.S. military is now in a war command in the region, and they're saying that they're bringing a deep, ominous fortune to the area. But they fell short though. I was thinking that they were going to say something in here about attacking or taking some sort of action. They fell short of that. So. I don't really know. It sounds like a pretty strong statement, but they're not really saying what they're going to do about it.
But I mean, honestly, man, like if you're reading this though, it just doesn't make any sense. Like it says right here, the U.S. military headquarters on Sunday is changing its occupation into a war command that is clearly commanding the U.S. military and its national forces in the region. It's like, that's just Indo-PACOM. Like, we're always organized like that. It's not like the U.S. military was just disorganized and not commanding the area until Sunday. It's like, this isn't making any sense at all. Like, none of, like, and also everything about the writing on this, folks, is vague. It's really more so like a news article that was written for the North Koreans for internal consumption, more so than foreign consumption. Because they don't write who the U.S. military commander is. They don't say if he's like the PACOM commander or the commander of the U.S. Army in like the U.S. 8th Army in Korea. They don't clarify that at all. They just say a U.S. military commander said in an interview. And then they increased the number of U.S. military commanders in Japan. But it's like, well, what does that matter? Like, the U.S. military commander is the one talking, so where are the other commanders coming into the picture? Making it possible to respond quickly. It's like U.S. forces are always structured to respond quickly. That's the whole point of our global command structure and Indo-PAC. Like, honestly, man, this kind of seems like a nothing burger to me. It seems like they're just trying to create something out of nothing, because this is basically just saying Indo-PACOM exists and we have a problem with that.
Oh, I mean, personally, I take it to mean that they're starting to get more hostile against the U.S., and that could mean more missile tests. It could mean some sort of like minor provocation or something. We'll have to see.
We will have to see. Moving us on out of that news, a wild bit of news to say the least, it's now time for us to move on from the U.S. military commander, and time for us to move on into France, as we were able to hear that the French have made a statement today on the incursion into Polish airspace, and this was a statement by the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs. France condemns in the strongest possible terms the Russian airstrikes in Ukraine that resulted in civilian deaths, as well as Russia's missile violation of Polish airspace. These events prove yet again the extent to which Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine is a threat to European security. Ukraine's security and our collective security are our priorities. France remains committed to seeing Russia end its aggression against Ukraine. It will continue its efforts to strengthen NATO's defensive posture. So that was a brief statement by the French Foreign Ministry today. And also, to just add this in, Finland is supporting the exclusion of Spain from the Schengen area due to the migratory situation in Ceuta. And I've also started to hear that the French government is starting to get much more in support of removing Spain from the Schengen area, as well as the Ceuta migrant crisis continues. Outside of that, we've also been able to hear that the foreign minister of Lithuania has actually added in. His name is Gabrielius Landsbergis. Gabrielius. Man, that's like a Roman name. Gabrielus Maximus. but Gabrielus Landsbergis, who is the former foreign minister of Lithuania, stated that in his humble opinion, a Russian cruise missile landing in a Polish field is exactly what NATO Article 4 was written for. Amen. Hallelujah. I would agree. But the Polish government has taken a bit more of a backseat sort of a stance on the given situation, as we were able to hear that they did confirm earlier that the missile was in fact a Russian KH-101 caliber cruise missile that had fallen on their territory and that it violated the country's airspace. And according to the deputy defense minister, during the attack, about 20 Russian missiles were flying towards Poland, but most of them were shot down by Ukrainian air defenses. Warsaw does not rule out that the incident could have been a deliberate provocation and warns that similar cases may occur again. And they've started to issue those warnings to the greater public, as the Polish government put out this statement today from the Governmental Security Center, urging citizens to prepare for more attacks after yesterday's Russian missile, asking them to pack emergency bags, locate nearby shelters, and download the safety guide. So we're not seeing the Polish say anything like we're going to shoot the next one down. They're just saying, if another one comes in, make sure that if it goes into a city, it just doesn't like blow anyone up. Which, is a little bit of a very passive sort of a mindset. And they've also summoned the Russian ambassador to ask him why in the world a Russian missile flew into Poland and blew up on Polish territory 50 kilometers south of a major city. So that was a statement by Donald Tusk. So it does appear that at the moment the Polish are actually taking a lot more of a reserved sort of a stance on the situation than, to be entirely honest, I was actually originally anticipating, to be frank with everyone. I thought that the Polish were going to be going ham over this whole deal. In reality, the Polish are taking this about as slowly and as cautiously as they could. They weren't even willing to say that it was a Russian missile yesterday. They said it's highly likely a Russian missile, but we are not entirely sure, when it was literally a missile involved in attacks on Ukraine that flew across the border and into Poland and then exploded on their territory. So it clearly was a Russian missile. Now today they're saying that it was a Russian missile, and they're summoning the Russian ambassador to ask him, why the devil did a Russian missile blow up in Poland? And now they're warning the citizens in their country that if another attack like that happens, they might not shoot the thing down, but just be ready, because it might blow up, somewhere around you or right on top of your head, and they are telling people to be aware of that sort of a threat. So, a lot of people are wondering whether the missile really was intended for Poland or not. And Matthew, what are people thinking about that, and what are you thinking about that as well?
Okay, so we got a new piece of information today, which was a lot more concerning than we originally heard about the other day, because we do know for a fact that one of those Russian missiles crossed over into Poland and it impacted in an open field, and now Poland is investigating it, and they confirmed it was a KH-101 missile from the Russian forces that hit inside of Polish territory, which was quite a significant escalation to say the least. But we learned that apparently 20 plus Russian missiles were actually flying toward Poland when that one missile crossed the border, and apparently the other 19 were shot down by the Ukrainian air defenses in the area. So it's begging the question, how many missiles were actually destined for Poland? Was there a lot more than just one that was destined for the area? Because, 20 missiles going toward one area in Lviv, that seems like overkill, at least in my personal opinion. So what are your thoughts about that? 61% said the missiles were intended for NATO, most likely, while 21% said the missiles were intended for Ukraine, and 11% said I'm 50-50 on this one. And I have a distinct feeling that at least a couple of those missiles amongst the 20 were probably destined for Poland. The fact that one of them went so deep into the Polish territory and hit near Lublin, that to me sounds very damning, to say the least. This could have been a much bigger attack that Russia was planning, and it might have been thwarted by the Ukrainian air defenses, thankfully. And thankfully, it wasn't any bigger than what it was. So I would say I'm a little bit 50-50 on this one. We just don't know for a fact they were heading for Poland, but the fact they were all being fired that close to the border, 20-something missiles, and then one of them actually crossed over, it's not looking good, at the minimum. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say that's not looking good either. I would generally be with a 60%. I think the missile truly was intended for NATO, and it's a smaller scale provocation ahead of the large scale provocations we're probably going to be seeing in a couple of months, or probably within the next couple of weeks at this point, because it's trying to test the waters of how reactive NATO really is. Because given the fact that NATO isn't really reacting at all, this is giving a significant amount of leeway to the Russian Federation to really conduct whatever offensive actions they would like against NATO in a last-ditch wildcard effort to try and turn the situation in their favor. And generally, NATO looks like it is going to be quite slow to react. The Baltic states could get invaded. Like here's the truth of it, folks. The Baltic states could legitimately get invaded by the Russian army, and as long as the Russians pull the trick they did in the Donbass down in 2014, where they strip off all of their insignia and they don't look like Russian soldiers, a lot of NATO countries might go, we'll have to do an investigation on this. They might be Russian soldiers, but they also might just be, separatists or something in these countries. We really need to study this. And that could be the response of NATO in a possibility. And Russia could quite literally see that there is no response from NATO at all. And I'm not one to try and, fearmonger folks, but I'd have to say with the weakness and the spinelessness that we're watching from Western officials here in the United States and in Europe at this point, it is extremely concerning watching how little of a reaction there is to anything going on anymore. I mean, Russia fired a missile into Poland, and instead of Poland saying, if something like that happens again, we're going to make the Russian Federation regret it. Even just making the statement, even if they didn't even intend on following through, they're not even willing to make the statement. And that's how concerned they are about creating any sort of an escalation. So they rather sit there and go and beat around the bush when everything's obvious. Oh, well, it was definitely a Russian missile design, but we're not really sure if it was a Russian missile. It just happened to fly across the border from Ukraine into our country in the middle of a major attack that the Russians were conducting on Ukraine. And once we find out it's Russian, instead of making any significant threats or warnings to the Russians, we're just going to, kind of say, hey, why don't you call up your ambassador and have him explain to us why your missile blew up on our territory? Maybe, there's a good explanation as to why that happened. And then play the whole situation down. They're not even invoking Article 4 over this one. I mean, Estonia invoked Article 4 over a MiG-31 just flying through their airspace for a minute. It's like the Polish aren't even willing to invoke Article 4 over a little world missile exploding on a farm field right outside of a small village south of Lublin. It's like, this sort of a mindset, folks, is only going to encourage the Russians to become more provocative and continue to keep pushing the boundaries until they end up getting people killed.
I wonder if it's because of that new president they've got. Because you remember Poland invoked Article 4 back when they were attacked by the Russian drones back in the day. They invoked it pretty quickly, actually, and they had the conference. But now all of a sudden with the new president in there, now all of a sudden they're not doing anything about the missile attack that took place in their territory. So I don't know if he's having a hand in maybe not invoking Article 4 possibly, or what the case is, but the new president over there seems to have some beef with Ukraine on some personal level about the unit or whatever that whole drama was about. And now we're seeing a pretty weak response to a Russian attack in Polish territory. So I'm not so sure if he's to blame for it or not.
Yeah, I would say maybe he is, maybe he isn't. It's hard to say. I'll also say I'm up in the air on that as well. But one thing I would say, though, is that they could at least make some sort of a response at a minimum and say, you're putting our people at threat. If something like this happens again, we're going to start shooting down these missiles while they're over Ukraine. Like, if they get within 10 miles of our border, we're going to start actively shooting them down then and there. So don't fly them close to our country. We are going to respond. Or say, if another missile like this lands on our territory again, we are going to start taking concerted actions against you in any way that we can, right up to almost a war, something along those lines, or at least some sort of a strong-handed diplomatic statement. Like, we condemn this action greatly, and we are already getting our armed forces prepared for a Russian invasion, something like that. Something, at least.
Yeah, a little something would be pretty good.
Yeah. So moving us on from that and on out of the Eastern European regions, it's now time for us to move on and into the rest of our news that we were able to get out of the Russian Federation. As we were able to see that within the area of Nizhnekamsk, there was a significant drone attack that was conducted today on the industrial zone, and we were able to see a brief clip of that right here. Looks like an early morning sunrise.
Oh,
Look
wow.
at
that. That's a huge one.
Pretty big, pretty big. Moving us on from that and on into the next clip, we also were able to see another clip of the fire that resulted afterwards of the explosion within the industrial area. At the moment, we believe that it was a polystyrene production workshop that appears to have been hit, at least in that clip, and we also were able to see a couple of additional clips here letting us hear and see the attacks at Nizhnekamsk. Here are those clips.
It's a very consistent explosion.
It is, indeed.
What started it?
It looks like a drone attack. Moving us on from that and on into the next clip.
Короче, чисто для интереса подъехал посмотреть, что горит. Короче, непонятно, что горит. Ну, факел тоже горит, вот. А вроде остальное хрен его знает, что там вообще может быть. Ну, дыма что-то очень много. Прям очень много дыма.
This guy's
Okay,
just a
that's
living
enough.
soundboard. Like, bro,
Really?
he said, damn, man, that thing blew up and then went, oh, Roca. Man, I was like, okay, dude, okay, we get it, man.
Hey,
You're
man,
like,
you might have gotten a whiff of that chemical coming off of it or whatever was coming out of here.
man, maybe, man, possibly. And here's another picture of the explosion in the distance. Moving us outside of Nizhnekamsk and further on down the way and into the Volgograd area, we also were able to see that the Wild Berries facility that was hit yesterday has largely burned to the ground completely today. And of course, as a result of the drone impact and the ensuing fire that wrecked the facility, and we've also seen a little bit of additional evidence and proof of the Kaspisk attack that was conducted yesterday, including this brief clip right here. You can hear it off in the distance. We're also able to see another clip right here. Actually, we saw this one yesterday. This one's a duplicate. There was the sound of an explosion, and also a picture of the rising smoke from the Kaspisk Flotilla Naval Yard. We're not really sure what the damage is there at the moment, but hopefully we'll be able to find that out at some point here within the future. Moving us on out of all of that, and on up into Moscow, we've also been able to hear of some very interesting financial calamities that are hitting the Russian Federation, and some other issues as well. We've been able to hear that apparently, according to Roy TV Maxim Kalashnikov, which has a picture of Igor Girkin up there, he stated the Russian federal budget deficit has reached a record high of 8,681 billion rubles. You can see this for yourself by reviewing the budget balance on the Treasury website. Expenditures 27,921.8 billion, and the revenues are 19,240.8 billion. Let me remind you that the planned deficit was initially 3.8 trillion for the year, then quietly increased to 4.7 trillion. This doesn't even take into account the 1.5 trillion regional budget deficits and the social fund deficit. Therefore, if nothing is done, federal Treasury revenues will dry up in November of 2026. To save public finances from collapse, we will have to make extremely difficult and unpopular decisions or print 8 trillion rubles and devalue the ruble in order to replenish the treasury with nominal but devaluated income.
Oh my God, you wouldn't want to devalue the ruble. Like, that would be awful if it lost all of its value.
Man, like, it honestly would be sad. It could turn into an Argentine peso, you know?
Hell, it could go from 0 to -1 value. Like, it's already basically valueless right now. So what are they talking about? They're going to devalue it. It's like you can basically use it as toilet paper right now.
Man, well, if you want to know, man, if you want to know how worth say a Argentine peso is right now, let me pull that up here real quick. 1 Russian ruble. And you know that a Russian ruble is about worth a single penny. 1 Russian ruble is worth 19 Argentine pesos right now.
Oh, man, they did Argentina sweet. They did that place swell. That's horrid. Like, that's awful. So to, like, buy a hamburger, you gotta pay $1 million for a hamburger down there or something.
Man, you know what's crazy, man? Someone actually did the math, and it turns out that an Argentine peso is worth less than Fortnite V-Bucks right now. And that's sad. Man, that is sad. It's like it's a national currency. It's worse than it's worth less than Fortnite V-Bucks.
How many Iranian reals is a ruble worth?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. Iranian rial. Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Wait a minute. Wait a second. Am I reading this right? 1 Russian ruble equals 17,000 Iranian rial?
Yes, you're reading this correct. Like, you're reading that correct.
What the
Dude,
hell?
That's mind-blowing. Okay, wait, hang on. Let me do this. US dollar to Iranian rial. Oh my God! Dude! It's 1,375,125 Iranian rials for 1 US dollar.
What the hell? Man, I'd be a billionaire in Iran.
What does their money look like over there? Is they're clearly not trading Benjamins like at 100 to a 5. It's gotta be like millions at a time. Iranian banknotes. We need to find this, folks. We need to find this here. Oh my God. Oh my God. You gotta be joking. They have humongous banknotes. Let me show you what they have right now. Hold up. Let me get to the modern day. They don't even have images for this stuff, but they have banknotes of 100,000 rials, and that would be equivalent to, let's see here, that'd be equivalent to about 10 US cents even then.
Oh man,
Man, oh my God.
man. I mean, at that point, wouldn't it be fair to like go back to like a barter and trade system or something? Like, wouldn't that'd be more effective at that point? I mean, that's absurd if your money gets that. I mean, this isn't even worth like using.
Oh wow, and actually wow, it's actually like done quite bad lately. A hyperinflation hit earlier this year. Like, man, it went from 42,000 Iranian rials for $1 to now it's up to about, 1.3 million Iranian rials for a US dollar.
That sucks. I think that might be the most devalued currency on the face of the planet.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. We need USD to Venezuelan bolivar. Oh, they don't even have the exchange rate for that. That's where. Oh, actually, only 745 Venezuelan bolivars is equivalent to $1. So they're actually doing better than Iran. Who in the
Oh,
world? Who in the world's doing better than Iran? Then, like, this is
nobody. The Iranian rial is the least valuable currency in the entire world. The Lebanese pound is doing better than the Iranian rial, and we know how Lebanon is.
Jesus. Oh, that's
Oh
awful.
yeah, man, that's terrible. If you're doing worse than Lebanon with your currency valuations, you're basically in the toilet.
Dude, like when you work over there, man, like here in America, they're like, it's very hard to make your first million. Bro, in Iran, the saying is it's literally easy as waking up to make your first million. You just have to make $1. And you made a million. You're a millionaire. And you can't buy shit. Like you can't buy anything with $1 million. Like that's crazy. That's insane. I didn't even know that until right now. But
Check
nevertheless,
check one more real quick. What's the Russian ruble to the Zimbabwe currency?
Zimbabwe dollar. Oh, so one Russian ruble is the equivalent of 4 Zimbabwean dollars.
Oh wow, Zimbabwe's got a valuable currency.
Man, Zimbabwe's doing a lot better than they were back in the day, man. Remember when they had like the $1 trillion banknotes in Zimbabwe because the hyperinflation had gotten so bad? Apparently, they've improved.
Yeah, that's insane. Really, that's wild. I'm just shocked at how devalued the Iranian rial is. That's absurd.
Honestly, dude, honestly, I can't even believe. But outside of that, though, the Russians are looking at a pretty significant issue as far as their current government spending is concerned, and it looks like it might only continue to worsen. We've also been able to see that apparently 60% of the wild berries facilities have been burned to the ground at this point by the armed forces of Ukraine. So they're
Their
working pretty.
largest ones.
Huh?
They said their largest ones. That's according to the Ukrainians.
uh, I'm sorry, I forgot to say largest. But 60% of the largest facilities of the wild berries have been destroyed or largely damaged. So not that good for the Russians, not that good at all. But moving us on out of that and into our last bit of news out of Moscow, we were able to hear that apparently, according to some well-informed Ukrainian sources, which I have to say, folks, take this for what it is, Russia is preparing a total mobilization and a closure of the country in winter, according to a well-informed Ukrainian source. We're not entirely sure if that's extremely credible yet or not. We have been able to hear some Ukrainian reports in the past that the Russians were going to conduct a full mobilization around a certain time, and then it wouldn't really happen, so we don't know if that's fully verified or not. Meanwhile, down in Rostov-on-Don, we did get to see the Russians claim that they shot down a couple of FP-5 flamingos. Problem is, the interceptions were conducted at such a high altitude, it couldn't have been a flamingo, because a flamingo usually only flies several hundred feet above the surface, usually about 200, 300 feet. Whatever they shot down was about 1,000 feet in the air, so we're assuming it might have been some form of a drone. One of the few times I've ever seen Russian air defense actually work. And that's the end of that clip. And moving us on out of there and into Sevastopol, we also got to see that there was a small fire today following some explosions in Sevastopol, most likely from drone attacks. And also, man, I don't think I have the clip of the Russian goons posing as Ukrainians.
Oh, okay. I put it in the likes tab, by the way. I just wanted to show this. I didn't show it in the short war video earlier today, but it's a pretty good one. You might want to show it. It's like Comedy Central.
Oh, sure. Oh, that one. Oh, that one. Yeah, I skipped over that one, man. I was like, that looks so goofy. I didn't even include it. Let me actually show you this because we're basically
Also, let me set it up real quick. By the way, let me give them the backstory on this real quick. So this right here is reported or supposed to be the Ukrainian soldiers right here. You notice a little janky Ukrainian patch they have on their side of their uniform right there. And they're also wearing shiesties with the copy paper printout of an Iranian flag right in front of them. This is supposed to be the Ukrainians, but you might notice something looks a little bit off with this. Something looks a little bit strange. And these guys are looking a little bit too beady-eyed at the camera. And they look a little bit odd. So it turns out these guys are not what they seem.
Also, man, you know, something else I just noticed? They're not even following a uniform code. This guy has the Ukrainian flag patch on his right arm shoulder. This guy has the Ukrainian flag patch on his left arm shoulder.
Yeah,
That's not even
that's
within
why
regulations.
I called this out early this morning. I called it out. Said these are some Russian goons trying to pose as Ukrainians, trying to pick a fight with Iran to get them tangled up with Iran, like a false flag type deal. That they're trying to get them tied up. These are actually 3 Russians right here, by the way. That's why they're hiding behind the shiesties, because these are Russians trying to pose as Ukrainians to start a fight between Ukraine and Iran.
You know, you're very observant with that earlier this morning, because I tell you, I mean, also on top of that, man, these uniforms, like, look like they've been through the ringer. Man, like, they look pretty bad. Like, these things look like they were bought out of a surplus store after being used quite heavily for 10 years. But let's watch the clip.
Звернення к шиїтським шайтанам із Ірану. Вам, схоже,
Well, they put it in
промовили
Arabic.
Waterwya.
Man,
Ще спалом.
they did some
Не тільки
effort.
їх.
Like how this guy on the left is just trying to mean mug as hard as he can, and it's, like, not coming off well.
Yeah, it looks like he's laughing under there.
Man, also, man, this guy's trying his hardest, man, to look like he's about to, like, rob you on the side of the street with a hand grenade or something. It's like, these guys are trying way too hard, man, like, way too hard.
Ви, гівно свиней, на підошві всього цивілізованого та демократичного миру. Ми з
I mean,
американськими
this guy sounds Russian. Like, if you listen to him, man, like, his enunciation of the words sound Russian more than Ukrainian.
This is the, I mean, Russia can't even pull off like a fake like propaganda film right these days. And also the like Temu Ukrainian patches aren't doing them any favors either.
Bro, they put this shit together in like 5 minutes, man. They literally got a laser jet printer to print out the Iranian flag, and they said, go with it.
Man, like to fast forward to the end though, is we can't understand what this goon's saying in the he's trying to instigate, but fast forward to the end, he like crumbles up the paper, like right near the end of it. He's like throws it on the ground. Look at the little theatrics
Слава
coming up.
Україні! Смерть Ірану!
Oh,
Look at him.
oh,
He said,
oh!
bro, he said Slav Ukrainian death to Tehran. That's what he said at the very end of it. Also, by the way, Ukraine literally came out like officially, like the Ukraine foreign ministry came out and said this was a phony clip right here. And these are 3 Russians standing in this video, which by the way, I think that was obvious to most people that saw it earlier today. They're like, these aren't Ukrainians. These are some Russian goons. Ukrainians don't look at the camera like a robber.
Man, bro, like, they're gonna be wearing this kind of shitty outfit, bro. Like, this thing costs like $20 each, and they got the laser jet. Bro, probably the most expensive thing in this operation was that damn laser jet printer.
Man, honestly, this was like such a laughable attempt right here. It was absurd. Some people were actually falling for it earlier, but I will say not too many people were falling for this one. I mean, this one is so bad. I mean, it's a joke that somebody even put them up to it.
Also, on top of that, it's like if the Ukrainian government was really wanting to threaten Iran, a government official would be the one threatening Iran, not just some
Yeah.
random goons in the army.
Yeah, and also they won't even show their name patch. Like you don't even know what rank these guys are, or what their name is, or anything. It's just like 3 goons standing in the forest. We're gonna fix Iran up with the Ukrainians.
Bro, they went out near to the dacha that Granny lives in. On the over, bro, like the Ukrainian government would sit there, like Zelensky would call these 3 guys into his office and say, I have a very important job for you. I can't trust any of my government officials with this, but you will have to go out and film a video threatening Iran, and that'll be our official message of a threat. Oi, blad. Now go do it. It's like he would ever do that. Like, if they wanted to threaten Iran, Zelensky would just threaten Iran. You don't need a couple of goons in uniforms, and shitty ones at that, to do it. Like, what a goofy attempt.
I'll be honest. I don't even think the Iranians would fall for that. Like, I don't even think they would. They're probably looking at that thinking, "Isn't that those Russians that met with us yesterday?" It's like they probably think, "It's like Ukrainians. We just met them yesterday."
Man, bro, also, man, the guy on the right, man, he had like those feminine eyelashes, man. Like it's like, hey, bro, like it's all right, man. That might be like, Machaba might, like that guy. He might, they might be on good terms. But anyways, moving us on from that, not that there's anything wrong with it. But moving us on from that into the area of Khmelnytsky, we were able to hear that there was a large explosion at a Ukrainian airfield today in the area around Khmelnytsky. We do not know what this was. It looks like it was definitely an ammunition explosion. We don't know if the Russians hit it. There was no reported drone or missile activity at the time the explosion happened, so it looks like it might have been a munitions mishandling incident. Hopefully we won't hear of any significant casualties. If there were, they might not be disclosed. So with that, moving on out of that brief information, out of Khmelnytsky, we have also been able to see that along the beaches of Odessa, the Ukrainians have continued to shoot down more drones. 6 yes. Moving us on out of Odessa, we have also been able to hear the Ukrainian investigative authorities have confirmed that the Russians didn't just fire one North Korean Hwasong-11, they actually fired two of them, or KN-23s as they're called. Another one, and then the second one, actually fell 3.5 kilometers away from the first explosion site, with the first explosion site in the small village of Radushny, just south of Kryvyi Rih, killing 6 people, including 3 children last night, during the blast, with 5 more children remaining missing even as of today, meaning unfortunately they may have been vaporized or buried under rubble in the explosion. So the casualties were massive from the missile attack that was conducted last night, and the missile was provided by none other than the North Koreans to the Russian army. So very unfortunate incident, and it also is showing that the Russians are running into missile shortages once again, as they're starting to use the far more unreliable North Korean version of the Iskander, the Hwasong-11, or the KN-23, as it's sometimes called, to fire at Ukrainian cities. Unfortunately, we've also seen the ballistic missiles have continued to be an ire for the Ukrainian armed forces, as there were 10 explosions in Kyiv tonight, and around 6 Zircon hypersonic missiles were launched at the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, according to some reports. So it is showing that Ukraine is still being hammered quite heavily by ballistic missiles, which are really the only sorts of incoming air threats that are able to make it through the Ukrainian air defenses at this point. Cruise missiles and drones are intercepted around a 90% success rate. The ballistic missiles, however, are intercepted at only around a 10 to 7% success rate, meaning that the number of ballistic missiles that make it through per launch is far greater than any other figure so far in this part of the conflict. We also are able to see that the Ukrainians are currently conducting a brand new drone attack against the Russian Federation, involving some cruise missiles and also a large number of propeller-driven and jet-powered drones that are currently flying into Russia. And we'll most likely get more reports of the successful attacks and damage tomorrow, probably for a shorter video if there is one to be made. Additionally, we have also seen, moving us on down and into our location unknowns, that today there was no unmanned vehicles unveiled by the Ukrainian UAT robotic fleet. We're able to see that right here. They're unveiling new systems. This is the logistics.
Look at the shopping cart it's a shopping cart that everybody would like to use.
Man, this is the communications UG. Bro, this ain't even just a shopping cart, bro. You can speak with this bee.
That's nice.
And lastly, the strike UG.
Oh, wow. You can also send them a message with that one, too.
Honestly, man, that thing kind of looks like a push mower with a machine gun mounted on top.
It kind of does. You know, I won't go any further with those jokes. I'll leave that be.
Hey, wait a minute. What are you doing out there today? Why, you should know. I'm mowing down rations. But anyway, moving us on from that, they showed off their systems a little bit more. This is the Viper L, which is the logistics version of the platform. It can travel up to 13 kilometers an hour with a range of up to 50 kilometers and a fording depth of up to 200 millimeters. It can carry up to 350 kilos of equipment, has a gross weight of 900 kilos, and its protection rating is IP55. I mean, really impressive stuff right here. But generally, this is just a new round of UGVs that they're unveiling to the public, and it does appear the Ukrainian armed forces will probably be putting these into heavy use here within the near future. We also were able to see the Russian Federation is having to contend with new threats out there on the battlefield. The Ukrainians are not adverse to making their own monster truck-like vehicles. This one was actually built off of a modified Stryker APC, provided to them most likely by the United States in prior years. So let's take a look at what the Ukrainians have designed recently. Then kind of
What is that thing? What's a dragon?
It's like it's a super modified Stryker APC.
That's sort of weird looking. It's like a mobile like bush.
It kind of is. Like it's really quite weird.
Look at it. It's like a freaking storm vehicle that they drive into those tornadoes or something.
Honestly,
it kind of blends in with the junk. Like, it kind of blends in with the junk on the side of the road.
Honestly, man, look, that's kind of wild to watch. Just a giant moving blob, like a big house or something.
They have like a grill top on top of it, like you put a hamburger patty on.
There's nothing in the world that can compare to a hamburger, juicy and rare.
It seems like it slowed it down a little bit or something. Like, why does it seem like it's moving like so slow?
I think they're just trying to
Look
negotiate
at
these tight
look at
turns.
it. Man, honestly, that looks like the goofiest thing ever, but I guess it works though. But it looks like look at that. We're gonna call this one the Shaggy.
Bro, this thing's the Land Cruiser. Bro, look, that is
That's
crazy.
that's some thick rubber sheeting on the side of that thing right there. I hereby christen this one the Shaggy.
Honestly, man, not that far off. Also, man, that striker door, man, that thing's got some force behind it when it closes. I mean, bro, if you were caught in that thing while it was closing, I think that thing's going to split you in two. I mean, damn, bro, that thing closes like a bank vault.
Man, you're gonna become the hamburger meat for the top of the grill if you get caught in that.
Man, they call that the clap trap.
Oh, look, they got a little like
A little
in tow,
UTV.
like a UTV on the back. That's pretty cool. Oh, they have a winch too. Look at that. This thing's kitted.
Man, the Ukrainians go deploy the tactical UGV. They just drop it off the back of the striker and roll it up to wherever they need to go. That's pretty neat, actually. But we also were able to see the Russian casualty report over the past 24 hours, which was provided by none other than Miss Disa, keeper of the records. And before we get into the loss report here, oh, yeah, I got 3 Bobcat skid steers. Holy moly!
I love to see it. I love to see it. I love to see it. A skid steer, like a skid, like like the Russians do when they get hit by the Ukrainians. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say, it's beautiful. It's something else. It's something else. And according to Miss DC, keeper of the records, here are some stats for July. Personnel, 42,600 is the highest month since January 2025. Tanks, 164 is the highest since April of 2025. Artillery is 2,005, which is the 3rd highest of the war. MLRS is 75, which ranks 2nd highest of the war. Air defenses is 70, just below the 71 max only seen in July of 2023. Drones is 54,489, which is below the prior 4 months. Ground robotics are 304, which is the highest month, which began in May. Auto and fuel trucks is 13,930, which is the highest month of the war, and cruise missiles are 208, which is ranked the 2nd highest. So the Ukrainian armed forces have done quite well in this month of July, and over the course of just the past 24 hours alone, 1,340 Russian soldiers were wounded and killed, along with 1 main battle tank, 7 APCs, 42 artillery systems, 3 air defense systems, 1,525 drones, 10 ground robotics complexes, 413 supply trucks, 3 Bobcat skid steers, and 55 cruise missiles. And of course, I have to show y'all the spreadsheet. Miss Disa is quite thorough with record keeping here on the casualty report, and we do not kid when she is the keeper of the loss records. So she really does keep the actual records on this, and quite thoroughly. I mean, you can actually see every month of this year of 2026 in every loss category and the month, and it was quite significant for the month of July. 42,600 Russian troops wounded and killed, 164 tanks, 205 APCs, 2,005 artillery pieces, 75 MLRSs, 70 air defense systems, 3 aircraft, a very good month, 1 helicopter, 54,000 drones, 304 ground robotic systems, 208 cruise missiles, 1 warship, let's see, I think that was that Russian patrol vessel on the Black Sea coast, 13,930 supply trucks, and 115 Bobcat skid steers. So a very incredible month, and a huge shout out to the keeper of the records, Miss Disa, for being able to keep such immaculate records of the losses.
Miss Disa is an Excel master. It looks like he knows how to get around a spreadsheet. That looks like my accounting spreadsheets. Like it looks very similar to. I looked up. I was like, "Hey, is that my accounting spreadsheet sitting right there?" But man, that is very meticulous right there. I will say.
Man, incredibly meticulous and amazing to see, really something else. And moving us on out of that casualty report and on into the northern Kharkiv front, we were able to see the Ukrainians destroying a Russian Malva SPG today in the Kharkiv front, and as a part of the 151st Brigade's actions in the area. There goes the Malva, Bliet. Oh, there's the Malva, actually. Man, that thing's kind of zipping.
It's moving.
Man, the Ukrainians about to say it tripping, boy. They about to knock this thing out.
This is the Stalker XO15 right here.
Oh, look, it just got done firing. Well, they ain't going to be running from that one, will they?
Oh, another one.
Oh, a double tap. Oh my goodness, a
Oh, a
triple
triple
tap.
tap.
A quadruple tap.
Oh,
Damn.
man. Man, they're hitting it every which way they possibly can, from the side, the front, the back, and everything.
Man, they cooked
Bro,
that thing.
don't dare.
Bro, you already knew.
Bro, chill.
Like,
Hey,
man,
yo, pause.
man, you set yourself up, man.
Man, it set in like 5 seconds after I said it. I was like, maybe not the best choice of words, but where I'm assuming everybody has a clean mind here, which my assumption is probably wrong.
Bro, man, he said, bro, that thing is taking it from all sides, man. The front, the back, man, the sides. Bro, I was like, man, bro, you setting yourself up, man. You know the rules, and so do I. Man, you gotta make a joke on that kind of stuff. I mean, honestly. But moving us on from that clip, because the Ukrainians did a post-game interview, they're like, honestly, they had us in the first half, not going to lie. We're now going to move on down the front line into the Yemen area, where we were also able to see Russian forces getting hit here by the 63rd Mechanized Brigade. Here's one of them on a dirt bike. He didn't see it coming. This guy did. Didn't really help. Now see this guy in an open field. Open fields are the worst place to be. I also see them getting an artillery piece, a couple of them actually. Holy, I'm just doing the work, are they? What the hell gun was that? What was that? Is he holding an AK upside down? Oh, he's holding his AK upside down. Bro, I was about to say,
That's not a good start.
What gun is mag fed from the top these days? Bro, I got so confused. I was like, what the hell is that? It's just an AK.
He's probably fighting with it that way.
Man, honestly, man, if he was hopeless, man. There was just nothing that could be done.
Well, remember, these are the people that are 30 minutes on the front lines and they're goners. Like, these are the 30-minute soldiers.
Man, we had the Minute Man. They got the 30-minute man.
What the hell? Was that vehicle driving itself? Did you see that? Or was there anybody in the driver's seat?
Oh.
What the heck was going on with that?
Oh, no, the vehicle
There's nobody in the driver's seat.
Maybe they bailed out?
Well, no, I don't see anybody nearby, bro. What the hell? What is a haunted truck driving? Look, the steering wheel is literally turning, bro.
Bro, we got a self-driving Bahanka before GTA 6. Man, put it in the records,
What's going on with that?
I don't know.
Well, like, legit, like, what is it doing? I mean, it was literally turning back onto the road, and there's nobody in the driver's seat.
I couldn't tell you, man. I couldn't tell you. You're asking me questions that I just don't have the expertise to answer. I mean, I just truly don't know.
That's weird. Like, I see some people saying he left. I didn't see anybody nearby that had jumped out. And also, how was the thing turning back onto the road? Like, it wasn't like just going off into the wilderness. It was turning back onto the road.
I would probably say they just bailed out before we saw them on the camera feed, probably. But we could make it into a great conspiracy, the Russian ghost soldiers. Like,
It's the ghost of Ivan Past. Bliot Man is, he's here in ghostly form, and he's driving.
Man, call that thing the Russian spirit. Man, but anyways. Сука, блядь, иди нахуй, блядь. О, тогда, блядь. Oh, look at this guy. He's just wallowing in the field. Like, scrounging around the lilacs. They also got this little UAZ. And this guy. Overall, they were holding the line down hard there today. We also got to see the Luhansk city got hit pretty badly overnight. Let me show you that clip here real quick.
На нахуй.
На нахуй.
Пошла война. Раз, два, три.
Oh. Man, tough stuff for him. Tough stuff. Here's another clip of it. You want to see another clip?
No.
Oh, that's the same one. Here's a picture of it, though. The strike. Something was hit there. We don't know what, and hopefully we'll get some more info on it. Down in Donetsk, by the way, speaking of which, now near Zukhrest, where there is a large thermal power plant, the Ukrainians hit it and knocked it out tonight. Oh, Briaga. Look at that. They hit it hard, right on the very,
Whoa.
I think it's the turbine buildings.
That just increases the efficiency because, it's a thermal power plant, so it produces power with heat. So it's generating maximum amounts of power. Turn up the power. Do it now.
So I want you to put it on the record. Like, slam the keyboard, like the clipboard.
Safety first, always. For 40 years I've been saying that. Safety first, now turn up the power.
And then they blow up the reactor. Like, man, genius, really. Man, safety first, as he said. But moving us on from the major thermal power plant hit in the Donetsk region, we also saw that in the area of the Slovyansk front, the Ukrainians survived an FPV attack today. Let's take again, dude. Oh! That was close.
Oh, yikes.
Oh, coming to a stop.
Oh, it got the tire.
Blew the tire clean off, actually. There's only rim there.
I think they got side. Then they busted some coolant hoses, too.
I think he did. Honestly, man, that was crazy right there. I mean, that was a very close call. Let's watch that again. Dang!
Man, honestly, a good advertisement for this truck, whatever it is right here. It took that hit and only took the rubber off the tire. It didn't really do anything to the rim or anything.
Man, they took the hit and all they did was lose the rubber. I mean, honestly, man, that's impressive right there. A really good brand. We also were able to see that down near the Konstantinivka front, the Ukrainian U2 Brotherhood unit, Hidden Them Jams, were also doing some work against Russian forces today in the rear line areas, striking the logistics as they always do. Man, lots of logistics. You know why they call it?
Some of these guys look like they're more like fighters to me.
Well, Matthew, some of them are fighters. They're trying to get to the front and whatnot and back from the front. But Matthew, why they call it logistics?
No.
It's because when the Ukrainian drones come around, the Russians, they lay a log. Therefore, it's logistics.
Oh, man, that's awful.
Man, it's kind of like that salted awful.
Oh,
what the hell was that?
Did you see that one? Bro, did you see that one? That dude literally, they flipped everybody off and they went into the ditch. Look, what the hell?
Blood got flung off the hamster wheel. Man, damn. Also, what type of an artillery piece is this? Bro, they're whipping out the literal World War II vintage 2-axle, like, 4-wheel artillery pieces. What is that?
Straight out the Lenin Museum.
Gyansen B. It might be a Gyansen. Oh my God, it's a Gyansen B. Wow, these things are old as Methuselah. Like, they had a couple of these at the beginning of the war, but they've kind of gotten rare. If it shows up on the screen, here we go. So that's a Gyansen B right there. Man, that's just wild, man. Really, really something. These, by the way, were produced from 1968 to 1975. Actually, sorry, they were produced from 1976 into the 80s, and they built 1,500 of them. So this thing is kind of a bit of an older artillery piece. But they did blow it up. And they also got these guys on the ATV. And a couple of guys who were making a run for it.
I guess you won't catch these fellows in the U2 Brotherhood singing "It's a Beautiful Day."
Nah, I don't think you ever would. Like, I don't think you would. It's out of the question.
Might catch them singing one of those gloomy songs, though.
Man, you find these guys singing that, "No, my Lord, это грусть тазитоли." Like that. What's the name of that song? Darkest the Night?
Something, yeah, Dark of the Night, and it's like the Russian on the boat, and they're like all gloomy and stuff like that as they're about to go down.
Man, those Russians, man, they always sing those great songs, man. Like, if you actually hear the song translated in English, they'd be like, "I live in Oblak, just trying to get my cheese." Like, man, I got held up for $50. Man, like, it's like stuff day for Russians, man. Every single one of their songs is just depressing as hell. Meanwhile, we also got to see that the Ukrainian Armed Forces, the 144th SOF Center, actually captured a couple of Russian soldiers over the D. Here comes one of them. Oh, look at him. He looks surprised. Now they're chucking a grenade in. Man, they hitting us with all the Special Forces emblems.
That's the Wolf unit. They go in there and chew them up.
And they said they have the cry of the animal. Oh, bro, like, didn't they get them?
This unit's got the good stuff, though. They got the EOTech. It looks like the EXPS-3. They got the AR. Looks like a pretty nice one, too. M-Lock.
Just look at them.
I can name off a bunch of other acronyms, too, to sound like I know what I'm talking about. Look at that. They got the little laser pod at the top, the one that EOTech makes, I think. What do they call that thing? What do they call the laser little thing? It's like the integrated laser thing. It's the really expensive like thing that goes on the top. It's got IR laser and stuff in it.
Oh, I forgot
The
what that was.
Mall? Is it called The Mall?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it might be. The
I'll pull
Lamb.
it up on the side and see.
The Lamb, Lamb.
I don't think that's it.
Oh, well, maybe not. But getting us back to the clip here, something interesting here is that in this part of the clip, you can actually see there's a Russian firing out of this hole in the cinder blocks right here. Look at that. He was firing, and then this Ukrainian soldier just chucked a grenade in on
Oh,
him. Bro,
jeez.
like, bro,
Oh,
cleared him out. Damn. And now they're trying to negotiate with this one to get him to come out. And there he is. He came out. So now they put him in the shed. And now they want to back out. They did quite good work in this clip. Very impressive stuff. But moving us on from that clip and further on down the line and into the area of actually nowhere. That's actually all the frontline news that we have for the day. I thought we had one more clip, but apparently we don't. We didn't, or we don't. I have to pick the words, folks. I just keep trying to say both of them at the same time. But with that, that is actually the end of all of the news that we had for the day. And I've got to say, folks, that we are always entirely honored and greatly appreciative of each and every single one of y'all having been here over the course of the show. We had 106,000 people watch this show over the course of 2 hours and 18 minutes, and we had a peak viewership of about 17.2 thousand people, correction there, at the peak of this stream. And sadly, Matthew, no, we do not have a speech from Zelensky. He's been so busy, he hasn't
oh
made one since the
man.
25th.
I hate that. I've been missing the speeches. Like, we need speeches, Zelensky. We need speech.
We do need speeches. It's also very important for us, folks, because it allows us to have a drink of water and go to the restroom and kind of have like a bit of a halftime for us. That way we can come back and then knock out all the questions. But since we don't have that, we'll just have to figure that out here in the next segment if either of us have to go get a drink of water or anything. But honestly,
Oh, I
folks,
have water. I have water. I got this water bottle. It's like a Yeti tumbler thing, and it's apparently like vacuum sealed walls or something in it. It keeps the water like frigid cold for hours. So I've like got it at the beginning of the stream to drink some water throughout the stream, and it's still freezing cold in this thing.
dang, man. That's really nice. I had to think about getting that because I don't have any water and nothing here, folks. I just talk for like 3.5 hours straight, 4 hours sometimes a night, and I have no water or anything. I'm literally just sitting here, just going at it every night. But anyways, with that, folks, it is time for us to get on into the next segment of the stream where we get to talk to each and every single one of y'all. And boy, howdy, folks, it's going to be an incredibly fun night. We're going to be able to talk about anything and everything except for religion, politics, climate change, and all that other stuff that's extremely controversial. And so, Matthew, what do we got here?
All right, so jumping into our super chat questions, our live chats, and our Morse code decoders, we have some good questions to get to. In the meantime, I'm scanning for breaking news, and it looks like for the moment we are good to go for. I lied. Dad lied. Let's see here. So we do have a little bit of news. I wouldn't call it breaking news per se, but it's some news. We can cover this real quick. It looks like Ukrainian attack drones apparently hit Russia's 475th Separate Electronic Warfare Center outside of Sevastopol again tonight. We are seeing what appears to be a massive fire in Sevastopol right now, and also residents are reporting explosions. Now, granted, that's not breaking news, like I said, but it is some level of news. I guess you can call it a level 1 out of 10. This is pretty minor compared to what we've seen throughout the night. Excuse me, goodness. That cough was a level 10, though. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say, I don't think they're going to be doing a lot of electronic warfare. I think they're doing incendiaries now. That's their specialty down there. It seems like they're working harder with fire than they are with the electronics. So it looks like a nice solid hit, folks. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I think that's a pretty good one, honestly. A pretty good one. And so with that, I hope we've addressed that news update somewhat well. And now, without further ado, it's time for us to get on into the questions. So what do we got here?
All right, so jumping back into our first super chat, this one is going to go to none other than Cerebros3, a channel legend. And thank you very much, Cerebros, for that $100 support, a massive support, and we do appreciate that very, very much. And Cerebros said, sir, the enforcers are reporting fake news again. But I said, no, it's beautiful, real news. So sad, it's so sad. Have you seen there's been their hair? No one's seen any good hair besides mine. That's what he said, sir. Look at this hair. It's beautiful hair. It's like a fox. But for you guys to support the channel, Jack in the Box chicken tater melt, Slap's picture, LSA.
And I gotta thank you greatly for the support, Sir Bruce, in helping this channel to keep on running. I gotta say that it's always wonderful to know that folks like you really appreciate these fake news channels like ours. We come out every day, and all we just try and do is misinform the public. We try and tell them nothing but sweet little lies, although our entire business model kind of relies on us being somewhat credible and factual, but for some reason we just come out spewing vitriol every day. So sad. Many such cases, many such cases. But beyond that, though, I do have to say that we have beautiful hair. Many people say, wow, look at their hair, it's so beautiful. And unlike other people that have to comb it over and like sweep it over the front of their forehead, we have beautiful thick hair. It does whatever the hell it wants. You put in a little bit of hair gel, you can look like Mao, you can look like Kim Jong-un, you can look like Stalin, you can look like anybody you want,
Stalin, you gotta love Stalin. You gotta love him. You gotta hate him too because he's a bit of a bastard. But you know that's what they say, sir. You gotta stop Stalin. And I said he's been dead a long time ago. Stalin's been a long bygone fellow. He's not. I don't know where the hell I'm going with this one. I gotta stop right there. I gotta cut this one off mid-sentence.
I gotta be honest with y'all, folks. Honestly, that was a great attempt. I gotta say, beautiful attempt. Many people, wow, they call him up from
That's
miles
not
around.
accurate. He wouldn't be nice like that. You're being inaccurate. You gotta be cruel.
That is the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Someone
There
had to
you
put him in
go.
prison. Someone had to lock him up in jail. What an idiot. What a goofy idiot. You know, I heard, folks, that you couldn't pour piss out of a boot if the instructions were on the hill. What a sad deal. Sad deal right there. Terrible, honestly. But outside of that, though, I do have to tell you that one of the greatest people is me, and I've got to tell you, folks, the enforcers, when they get on the news, they use picture and video evidence, but they don't use it to show actual facts. They use it to lie to y'all. And I got to tell you, folks, I know a lot about lies. Some people say I'm the greatest liar. But beyond that, though, all jokes aside, a humongous thanks to you for the incredible support, Sir Rose, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep this channel running. And also, box chicken tater melt. You know, I'm gonna have to look at that from Jack in the Box. I've never had
Jack in the Box. Yeah. I remember that something when I was in high school. This teacher I had was always like, "Yeah, I've always had some Jack in the Box." I was like, "Jack in the Box." I'm like, "We have a Jack's down the street. What the heck's a Jack in the Box?" Apparently, it's like a upgraded version of Jack's, like the fast food restaurant, but they call it Jack in the Box.
You know, man, straight up, like I think I've had Jack's. Jack's was all right. I haven't really had Jack in the Box though. I think they're two different companies actually.
It's like, what's the other one? Jack in the Bag? It's like, what's the relevance of it being called Jack in the Box?
Bro, next thing you know, they're gonna have Jack in the Hat.
Yeah, in the hat.
Man, I tell you, that Dr. Seuss stuff, it never leaves you, folks. It never leaves you. For some reason, they had like a cult of personality around Dr. Seuss when we were in school, like in elementary school. Like they'd be like, one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, that's neat. Honestly, folks, I don't even know why there was like such a big fascination to be straight up about Dr. Seuss. Because I'm not going to lie, like after you're like 6 years old, it kind of just becomes like, you know, yeah, it's a child's book, you know. It's like that's neat. Like I don't know. I mean, like I think Matthew and me were pretty good at reading though, because I think by like the 4th grade I had hit like the 12th grade reading level, according to those stupid computer tests you had to take when you'd read the books from the library and you'd take a test on them. You know, and it's like I didn't really get them at that point because I was reading like actual stuff, like interesting stuff, at least in my mind, and I was like, the Dr. Seuss stuff, you know, it's like that's nice, but I don't really get it. So you know that's my 2 cents on it. But beyond that, though, outside of that wild rabbit hole that we just got into, I do have to thank you greatly for the support, Sir Bruce, and helping this channel to keep it running. And of course, long live the Lee Spring Army, and the Lee Spring Army will never truly die because it's folks like you who help to make this thing possible and keep it rolling every day. And so a huge thanks to you once again, and we're on to the next one.
We also have a $50 support from JC Tiflor, and thank you, JC, for the 50 as well, and we do appreciate that very much. He said, Iranic president is not a good situation.
No, not really. You know, it's like not really a good situation. Generally, I would say, like, I think we've learned over the past years of our coverage. Sadly, we've just never had a moment of our coverage yet where it's like, oh yeah, this guy has like a handle on foreign policy. We've learned 2 things: having a president that it seems like they don't know where they are isn't a good thing, and also having a president that's way too erratic and self-centered. That's also not a good thing. Generally, we know at least from here, that those two sorts of archetypes are not good ones for the office. So, big thanks to your support, and I hope this channel to keep running, and I hope that does address that the best I can, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it running. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a $50 support from none other than Chef Danny B, the official chef of the LSA. And thank you
Hey!
very much, Chef, for that generous support as well. It's good to see you once again. He said, "Good evening, Enforcers. Chef Danny here. I've been super busy with going full time into my catering business. I got 15 days left of the restaurant, and the Spain situation reminds me of when 20,000 people trying to cross into the U.S. a couple years ago and LTLSA. And also, I figured you were busy with that, Danny. I figured you were busy with the catering business. That's what I was thinking. I was like, he's busy with that. A lot of our channel legends, by the way, like Chef Danny B and BC Skyman, they're like full-time business owners. So they hop on here during their free time to get the news, and then they go right back to running their business during the day. So they're usually pretty swamped for the most part, especially in the summer, like for the HVAC business, very swamped. And I'd imagine food is a constant swamp business these days. But everybody's always hungry. Everybody's getting hungry for more, hungry for leadership, hungry for food and everything. So I would say I hope it's going well, Chef Dan. And also interesting to hear that you are finally going full time into it and leaving the restaurant too. But Enforcer, what say you?
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck on that. It sounds like you're finally getting the bringing about your dreams, and I hope that it's going to go well, and I hope it's already going well at this point. And I would also have to say, I would bet that you're super busy. I know that BC Skyman has been up to his gills with HVAC work, who's an old garden legend of the LSA as well. And so we haven't seen a lot of the legends lately, you included, because everyone's been so busy out there with their work. But I hope that everything is going well with that. And I would have to say, like, the whole Spanish thing is wild, a really crazy sort of a situation. I went and looked at it. Apparently they're saying now that a lot of them have actually went back into Morocco. And also, folks, I don't know if you'll have seen this. Let me pull up Spanish Moroccan relations, because I pulled up that whole deal a minute ago, and I was like, damn, they have like a humongous, like, y'all have not seen a border wall like this before. Let me see here. Ceuta border. Let me see if I can
Is
pull this up.
Morocco going to pay for it?
Um, oh yeah, totally. Oh yeah, sure. But this is their border wall with Morocco along most of Ceuta, and it actually goes all the way across Ceuta to the sea. So what these guys did is that they went right down here to this beach, right where the wall ends, and they just swam around it.
That's actually like really like a straightforward but simple way to evade the wall is just simply to swim around it.
Yeah, because I mean, look at this. It goes on for quite a while. It's like multi-layered as well, because they're trying to stop people from getting in. So, as far as a lot of people going, "Oh my God, Spain has open borders, letting the people flood." It's like, no, and it's like, no, they don't have open borders. I mean, hell, it's like there's literally nothing on the U.S. border that even looks like that, or anywhere. I
Well,
mean, shit,
hell,
that's like the stuff you'd see at Gaza.
yeah, but I mean, still, I mean, they got a little small border. They got to like put a fence up for right here. I mean, that's easy. Like this is short. This is not that crazy. I mean, the U.S. has to contend with like hundreds of miles of just barren like flat lands. They got to put fences and stuff on. Like we have to spend crazy money to put up stuff like this. For them, they get to monitor it and also put it up and maintain it with not too many resources compared to what we got to do.
Well, yeah, but I'm not trying to make it comparable though. I'm just saying, people are like, Spain is nothing but a bunch of stupid liberals. Like they have no walls. Open borders is like, well, that doesn't really look like an open border to me. It's like that looks like about as closed as it gets. I mean, that literally looks like the wall of like a high security prison, and it goes all the way across the border with Morocco all the way to the sea, and then they swam around it. So I mean, like as far as people trying to make a political argument about this, I don't really think, at least in that regard, there's one to be made, because it's like, some people in America said they were going to build a wall and it never really was built. This is a wall that actually exists, so it's like I think they're making a shot at it at least. But the fact that you can kind of just swim around the thing though at the very far edges, I think that kind of defeats the whole point. Because it's like if you can literally just walk across the beach, swim for a couple of 100 feet, and then get on the other side, kind of seems to defeat the whole thing. But outside of that though, I would have to say that the situation down there is just absolutely crazy, and also the situation on the U.S. border in different cases has also been a bit hectic and wild is probably the way to put it in prior years, even currently. But I would say, folks, like I'll say this because I don't even think this is really that controversial of a take. I think that there always has to be some sort of a process involved for people entering the country, no matter what. I don't believe in just saying, oh yeah, let them in, because we don't know who these people are. I mean, like they could possibly be criminals, they could be affiliated with extremist organizations. We have no clue because we're not checking them with any database. We're not going through any sort of a paperwork process either. And so I'm generally a big fan of making sure to document people who are entering the United States, or really entering any country, like the EU economic zone. If you enter that, they have documentation for that, and once you enter, you're in the Schengen zone for the most part, so you can go anywhere. But it's a little bit ridiculous to just say, oh, if they give like a woeful story, just let them in with no checks, because it's like we don't know if they're faking the story. It's like what if these people are affiliated with, say, the Russian internal security services, and they come here, and they look to be from Guatemala, and so then they give a whole story. Oh, I'm from Guatemala. It's terrible there. There's no money. Let me in. And then we're like, okay, well, we won't even do a check on you. You can come on in. I was like, well, we just let a Russian agent into the country, or we let a Chinese national into the country that's conducting reconnaissance and espionage. It's like that's too much of a significant risk. So I would say I don't really know. I'd have to say I just don't get that one. Like, as far as like the whole side of that goes, I don't really get the people who are just like, no, there ought to be no checks and people ought to just be able to free flow. It's like, well, that could cause a lot of problems. I mean, it's like we don't even really let we don't even let Americans free flow out of the country. You have to show your passport to be able to leave the country. At this point, you have to show a real ID to fly around the United States. So it's like, why in the world would we have far lower criteria for people entering and exiting the United States? Because we already have high criteria for U.S. citizens leaving the United States.
But
That's
yeah,
just
and also, like, some people don't know this, but you can't just like cross the border as a U.S. citizen, even if you're like a legal citizen here. You can't just like jump back across the border or something like that. It's a felony to do that. You have to go through the port of entry to get back in the country. I saw some other YouTuber apparently, unfortunately, found that out the hard way when he was doing a story. And he apparently jumped the border coming back in, allegedly. I think he said he did it too, but he jumped the border, and then the border patrol got him, and they tried to charge him with something.
yeah. I mean, it's just I just don't even get the whole argument there. Like, honestly, folks, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Um, and also on top of that, there's like a million things I could bring up. Like, one, there's no naturalization process. And also, folks, I would say, like, if they're a refugee, like, for example, if they fled for some reason for their life from a country, and they come to the U.S. border, and they come to a port of entry where they can be processed, and they're like, I'm about to get shot and killed in my own home country, I can't go back there for this, that, and another reason. And if they can go in front of a immigration court, and they can make a clear and convincing case that their life is truly a threat in whatever country they just came from, I would say that's perfectly fine to have them as a refugee. But just kind of like taking it at face value, like, all like we generally just assume this giant group of people has a refugee story. Let's let them in. It's like I don't really understand that side of things. It's like, what if they're not? It's like, what if some of these people are just mixing them in the crowd so they can hope that they get lucky and then they get in? It's like there's got to be some sort of a process for it. There's a process for everything. Why wouldn't there be a process for that as well? That just wouldn't really make a lot of sense to me. But a big thanks to you for the support and help with this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you, Chef Danny B, who help to make this thing possible. And of course, long live the Lee Spring Army and long live the Republic. And with that, we're on the next one.
And our next one goes to Tommy Two Tokes. And thank you, Tommy, as well, for that $50 support, and also being a longtime channel legend. He said, always great to catch a live feed and put thus toward your coffee and pizza fun. And remember, the lighter the roast, the more caffeine you get. And pineapple is great on pizza. And take one from the chat in LSA.
Honestly, I'd be kind of honest, pineapple on pizza is not bad. Like some people might hate it. It's not bad. I've had it a couple of times before. And there's something about like the savory like flavor of the ham and the cheese, and then the sweetness of the pineapple, that's actually pretty good. Some people say it's a culinary offense. I say, to each their own, and I haven't found it too bad myself. And also, as far as the coffee I drink, I usually drink dark roasts because I kind of like the flavor a little bit better. I've never really had a light roast. Matthew, have you had one? And if so, what does it taste like?
Oh yeah, I've had they call it blonde roast, like that's what they call a light roast. It does have more caffeine in it because they don't roast the beans as much. I don't know how that really works specifically. If Jocelyn White was in here tonight, I would ask her, because she's like an expert in roasting coffees and she has a business about it too. But I don't know if she's here tonight. But yeah, the lighter roast, like the less you like roast a bean, the more caffeine it has in it. But the catch is though, the flavor tastes completely different. Like the lighter roast is a lot more punchy and also I guess bright is the best way to describe it. Like you have to really taste it to know what I'm talking about. I personally like a medium roast to a darker roast. The blonde roast makes me feel sick for some reason.
Interesting. Yeah, I usually drink dark roast. I don't know. Like, I've never had a light roast. I think I've had a medium roast before, and those are all right. But I'm generally a dark roast kind of a person. And so a dark roast coffee is crap coffee. Don't you dare! That's what's powered the Enforcer channel for 4.5 years. Is dark roast coffees. Like that's all. I think that's both what both of us have every day before we run the show, because I know I do.
Yeah, I have that Colombian blend from um Costco. Damn. Well, look, Jack, Costco, they have beans. Anyway, the man on the moon, he was roasting coffee and he feeding it to him by the beans. Yeah, I had that Colombian brew from Costco. It's pretty solid, actually.
Man, you said, man, I got that dark roast coffee from Colombia from where is it? Like, bro, I thought you were about to say, oh yeah, Colombia. I was about to be like, oh my god, I thought that's what you were about to say.
I completely drew a blank. I don't know why. I drew a complete blank on Costco, of all things. You wouldn't think Costco coffee beans would be any good. You'd think, oh, it's not like generic junk. It's like that Kirkland stuff. It probably is not any good. But I don't know who is like the actual producer behind that. I think it's a private label. Somebody like some big company makes it. I'm not sure if it's like Starbucks or who it is that makes it. But it's pretty solid. I think it's pretty good. You get a huge bag of it too for a pretty decent price, which is the main reason I buy it.
Man, honestly, man, when I get my coffee machine working, I'll have to try it out. But with that, the coffee machine, by the way, folks, is still broken. I still haven't sent it off to warranty. I keep just
Man, all you had to
pushing.
do is send one email.
I know, but I just don't want to deal with whatever they're going to say afterwards, because I bet it's going to be a whole damn process. They're going to be like, can you send a picture of it? Can you tell us what's wrong with it? Can you mail
Hell
it
no.
back?
They'll probably just tell you to cut the cord and they'll send you a new one.
Man, but what if they tell me something else? Like, bro, it's like, oh god. Like, what if they're like, you gotta mail it back, and then I gotta pay for the damn postage and shit, and I gotta pack it up. Like, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I have great apprehensions, many as such apprehensions on this one. But I'll just have to send them the email. I've got to just buck up and do it, because like I can't keep drinking Stoke. Stoke isn't bad, by the way, folks. It's just that it has this like. It has the canned flavor to it, and I really like the fresh flavor of the coffee I got from the machine. It was quite nice. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address it the best we can, Tommy Two Tokes, and we will make sure to take one from the chat in your honor. So what do we got, Matthew?
And the question from the chat is going to go to AKA Game, who said, will there be a ground invasion?
A ground invasion of where?
I would have to assume he's talking about Iran, I would assume.
I was about to say, like, of Europe, Iran, Taiwan, Korea. It's like many places, many places. Maybe with Iran, but it's probably just going to be the coastal islands around Hormuz and probably the Persian Gulf. I don't think we'll ever do a full ground invasion in Iran, because apparently the current administration believes that that'll be extremely unpopular, and that might be why they're getting hamstrung and not doing anything further than what they're doing right now. And also, even at that, taking the islands could be somewhat risky. So, a big thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. I hope that does address that well. And a big thanks to you, Tommy Two Tokes, for sponsoring that live chat. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have here a $27 support from Thomas D'Orazio, and thank you very much, Thomas, as well, for the 27. He said, glad to listen live again for the first time in a while, and also it's good to have you back. He said, long live the LSA, and long-range Ukrainian drones are moving at the speed of Cessna. Matthias Rust wants to know why Russia can't shoot down Cessna yet.
Honestly, they can't shoot it down because nobody's taught anyone in Russia any good gunnery training. They've never shot skeet before, I'm guessing, and they've also never learned what the hell leading a target is. So I'm guessing that Russian education in reality is quite low. So I hope that does address that the best I can, at least. And also, great to see you back here, Thomas D'Orazio. It's good to see you here. We hope that you've been having a good time, and we hope that you've been enjoying the show so far tonight. And so a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a $50 support from JC Tiflor once again. And thank you, JC, for the 50 once more. We do appreciate it. He said, you are all guilty for your vote. Man, I'm just guilty of being presented bad choices every single time the thing comes around. Like that's my complaint. I'm a victim of the system, as they say. So you know, I just want somebody to get up there that sounds like they have a good head on their shoulders, that's not beholden to all these different donor groups out there, and that actually has ideas that are effective and not necessarily the most exciting, but ideas that will actually work and improve the infrastructure in the country, where it's actually a good place to live and people feel like there's hope in the country. That's all I want. And I haven't seen that in ages. In fact, ever since I've been able to vote, I really haven't seen it. But Enforcer, what say you?
What makes you think we voted for him or not? What makes you think? What makes you think? I mean, we've been fairly critical of his foreign policy. So why would you say that we're all guilty of your vote as in us? Like it's like what if we didn't vote for him? We've been quite critical of him. We were quite critical of the last guy too. So who's to say we didn't vote for either of them? But beyond that, though, I would have to say, like Matthew said, we get bad picks. I mean, really, the truth of it is, like, if I'm being completely frank, it's not like the other option in the last election was any different than this one. I mean, if you're asking me honestly, I think it would have been probably the same kind of dangerous stupidity in just different forms. And some people might like one flavor of stupidity, and some people might like the other flavor of stupidity. But I'd say it's stupidity all the same. And also, JCD, I was thinking for a second. I was like, well, you're saying we did? I was like, well, how do you know? It's like we voted, but how do you know who we voted for? I'm not saying I voted for one person either way. It's really up to mystery, and y'all fill in the blanks however your bias stands. If you like us, you'll say we voted for the guy y'all liked. If you don't like us, you'll say that we voted for the people you didn't like. So fill in the blank however you wish. But the picks have been bad. I mean, like the current guy, I would say, in my opinion, I've never really been a particularly big fan of. But I've also never really been a big fan of the other people that have been put up in the opposition party against him that have run in the elections either. I felt like most of the options were quite poor. Even during the primaries, most of the candidates for those parties were quite poor in the selection pool as well. I mean, it's like bottom of the barrel. A lot of them don't really have a great deal of intelligence, and a lot of them are bought and sold by different interest groups and lobbies in the background. So it doesn't matter what they say publicly on their campaign; they're going to do something totally different when they get into office. And it's just really something. I mean, it's really something. I would have to say, I wish, like Matthew, and I wish, like many of Americans, that we actually had legitimate options to pick from, instead of what we're getting these days, because it's largely pure drivel. And
They got to find the money. They got to get to the money. That's the problem. They don't know how to get the cheese. That's the problem with the people that have good ideas. They don't know how to play the system very well. Like, and it's not their fault because the system's broken, in my opinion. So to expect somebody that has like logic and common sense to navigate a corrupt system that's designed to only get people that are beholden to donors, that's not really their fault. So while I wish we could get somebody that had common sense and also knew how to navigate the system well, which means unfortunately kind of being a little bit deceitful, so that way you can try to navigate the system and get to that position, because you got to navigate all these different donors that want you to do favors for them later on down the road, and then you have to contend with the fact that they will get revenge on you if you don't adhere to what they want if they donate to your campaign. So it's just tough, really. Like, it really is. Like, and the truth of the matter is, I think most people these days look at politics, they have a good head on their shoulders. They look at the cesspool it's become, and they're like, I don't want to be a part of that. They're like, yes, I might be able to make a difference in there, but if I get in that system, I'm going to be chewed to shreds. And they may be a good person. Like the people that want to get in there and have good ideas, they may be good people, but there's always something that people can drag other people through the mud for and try to ruin their entire life and reputation over it just to try to win a political seat. And people have no restrictions on that these days. They'll go all the way and ruin somebody that may be a decent person that maybe made like one small mistake in their life. They'll go back and investigate their past and everything like that, and they'll try to drag them through the mud over something. Like if they have a bad relationship with their parents or something like that, they'll start dragging them through the mud over that, which is like petty as hell, but that's the way it works.
Yeah, it really is just petty and miserable, really. I mean, it's a stupid way that it's run. But I also saw some people say, you can't both sides it. Okay, well, I am going to both sides it, though, because one, is my First Amendment right, and two, it makes sense, because, like people say, well, yeah, this current guy is bad, but if we had voted for the woman, it would have been worse. And honestly, my take is it just would have been the same. Just would have been different in some way or form. I mean, like at this point, folks, who in the world would say if you voted for the other side, World War III would have started. I mean, we're on the very verge of World War III right now. It's like, was it really going to be any different? I don't really see that much of a difference.
Yeah, I wouldn't get into all that. It's going to get people riled.
Well, I mean, maybe it will get people riled, but that's kind of the truth of it. I mean, like they were equally bad picks. That's not trying to both sides it. I mean, where in the world could you say that either one of them was a great pick? Like, oh, the other one was
Well,
just
there are people that say that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like those people though are extremely political. It's like how in the world can you say, oh,
No.
well, like the current guy or the other one was just great in spades? It's like how? It's like there's no way to say that.
Well, that's getting political by nature. I would say I would leave that
Well,
one alone. I mean, I personally, I mean, if somebody thinks one person better than the other one, that's their personal opinion. I mean, personally, I'm not going to weigh in on it on the stream.
well, I mean that's their personal opinion, but also it's our personal opinion, but our analysis that the current guy's bad at foreign policy. Some people say he's brilliant. Should we stop saying that every night?
Well, I mean, if he's making a bad, so we judge stuff on a case by case basis. We don't say like overall, like like I may think that in my head, but I try to refrain from saying that on the air.
Well, the other option was the vice president of the United States, and were we really a big fan of the foreign policy of that administration when they were in charge? Not quite. So why in the world would we think that it would be better in spades? I mean, qualitatively, we watched that administration, the president and the vice president of that one, fumble a great deal of foreign policy maneuvers, and we're criticizing them on air then. So why in the world would we say, well, during the election, though, she could have just turned into a totally different person?
Well, until they have a chance to actually have a go at it, it's kind of hard to say what they would have done, really, because like you just said a minute ago, they say stuff in the campaign, then they get in office and do something totally different. So all I can judge is who's currently in office, who was in office. All the other candidates that were wannabes that never really quite made it, really can't judge them. They never had a chance to have a go at it.
Well, I generally say that she kind of did have a go at it being the vice president, not the full decision making power, but still was able to be out there and show what she was more so going to be about, and it was more so towing the foreign policy line that was already being towed in almost every way. Generally be indecisive in the Middle East, really completely ignore East Asia, and then continue on with the slow rolling of support to Ukraine. And it's like, that's not like that. We said clearly that wasn't a good foreign policy, and the current people aren't that far off from it. So that's my 2 cents. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have a $22 support from Blind Man, and thank you very much, Blind Man, for the 22. And he said, "Hello, enforcers, and unfortunately, I won't be able to catch the stream this weekend due to one double shift and an overtime shift following that. And also, sorry about that, Blind Man." He said, "Keep up the work, and I'll be catching it when I can. And take one from the chat from me and LT LSA."
And a big thanks to you for the support. And I gotta say that hopefully the work goes well. Hopefully you work hard and you're able to get back on this show and watch it. We hope so. And so a humongous thanks to you for the support and help with this channel to keep it running. And we will make sure to take one from the live chat. So Matthew, what do we got?
And the one from the live chat is going to go to none other than Marie Jacobs, who said, "Why won't Oman stand up and take control of their own shoreline in the strait to keep a lane completely open? And whatever came about their talks with Iran and LSA?"
Their talks with Iran amounted to absolutely nothing. The Iranians didn't even really talk to him, to be completely frank. And the reason why the Omanis are not doing that is because they really don't have the military capacity to conduct such an action. They do have an air force. They don't really have a navy, though. And that's really where the problem lies, is that they could easily conduct airstrikes like we're doing, but they never would really be able to float up into the strait and start clearing it out and making it usable. So I hope that addresses that at least the best from what I know. And a big thanks to you for your support and help with this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 20 from Roofer Terry, and thank you, Roofer, as well, for the 20. He said, "Coffee on me."
And a big thanks to you for support, and thank you so much for the coffee fund, because it is folks like you who help to keep this channel running and keep making this thing possible. And so a humongous thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 20 from JMO75. He said, "Happy Friday, LSA, and have a root beer on me." And I thank you for that, JMO, by the way. A root beer, that's a better beer right there. The one from the root instead of the one from the grain. You don't want that one from the grain. That one right there will mess you up, mess up your whole life. You got to be scared of the alcohol. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say a big thanks to you for support, JMO, and that's a beer that we can have right there, a root beer. We don't drink. It's got nothing to do with religion, folks. We're not Mormons. We're just not drinking types. But I gotta say, we are very appreciative.
More man.
Man, bro, like it's the alpha male thing to be more man now. Man, what color is your Bugatti?
It's the color purple. Means I'm a real man. Are you a real boy, Papa? Or wait a minute, am I a real boy, Papa?
Do I look like a real boy now, Papa?
Yeah,
that's the one, man. Like, bro, you gotta get it right.
Pinocchio.
Man, I must consume your flesh to become a real boy. Like, but anyways, beyond that, though, I gotta say, a big thanks to your support, JMO, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we just wouldn't be able to make this thing possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep it rolling. And so with that, and also someone's like, "You're Mormons?" No, we're not Mormons. We're just normal folks. We're normal folksy. But with that,
I'm
we're
more
on.
Man.
Man, I tell you,
I already made that joke.
you going to keep you going to beat that horse dead. I tell you, folks, that thing's laying out in the pasture right now, passing out. But anyways, to that, we're on the next one.
Also, someone said Matt calling a force will pop off the air hunt. Man, you wildin' for saying that. That's a meme. I think most people know that's a meme right there. You know, where I'm not, you know, well, anyway. But anyway, I sound like the last president right now. Oh, look, man, you know, are you okay? I mean, did you get the anyway? I mean, man on the moon. I mean, if
we
you
got
want
to
to
get
know
the
about
reference.
the kids,
We got to get the reference now because that joke we got to clarify. So there's this Meat Canyon cartoon of a Pinocchio that was made many a year ago, and in the Meat Canyon thing, the like Geppetto who made Pinocchio, he like made him, and like the clip starts there, and he goes, "All right, there we go, and done. Look at you." And then Pinocchio says, "Do I look like a real boy now, Papa?" And like honestly, that was the funniest thing that we had ever heard when we were like 10 years younger, and we quote that shit all the time. So that's the reference.
this dude's cartoons be sick as hell. Like, I don't know where this dude's coming up with these ideas for these cartoons, but these things are like sicko, like cartoons.
Man, I remember the first one I ever saw, man, was that damn Bugs Bunny one, bro. That shit, bro, that was scarring, bro. Remember? Yeah, what's up, dog? Oh, you gotta, bro, I can't even, bro, but that was messed up as hell. I was like, damn, bro. I was like, my
Like,
God.
how did somebody's mind even come up with this demonic looking stuff? It's like, how the heck do you even come up with it? Like, some of those guys stopped me watching like that one about Mr. Beast, that dude, man. I'm like, who in the world like comes up with this? It's like you have to have a sick mind to like start even thinking about these concepts.
I will say though, some of them are like pretty funny though. Like this one, like bro, that was funny as hell. Bro, that's like top comedic material. But some of them though are just very unsettling. Like they're like it's cool though. Like it's definitely iconic at this point on YouTube. But some of them are really funny, and I like the really funny ones. And some of them are very unsettling. So I'll just leave it at that. But anyways, with that, it is time for us to move on and into the next one.
We also have a $20 support from Space Fraggle, and thank you, Space Fraggle, for the 20. He said, "God bless our armed forces and love the show, enforcers. We trust your news and insight, and please take one from the chat."
And a big shout out to the armed forces. I know many of folks in the service, and they're all great folks, nice folks. I talk to them from time to time. Actually, was talking to a couple of them before this show tonight. Hey. But beyond that, though, I gotta say, humongous thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep running. And we thank you for trusting our news and insight. We always try our best, and we always put high value on making sure that what we say is accurate, and we're giving y'all the honest assessment of what we're thinking of the situation, because we put a lot of respect and value into y'all being here and spending your time here. And so we will make sure to get one from the live chat in ya honest. So Matthew, what do we got here?
And this one goes to Soulless, who said, "I think China and North Korea is just waiting to see what happens in this situation. Do you agree or disagree?"
I would say, yeah. China generally is one to wait stuff out and observe things. They're not really an active or martial country. And a lot of people go, "Oh, that Chinese shit, that's nothing but propaganda." They haven't been in a war for 50 years directly, at least. So they're one to sit back and kind of just watch everything happen around them. They don't really feel an active need to get involved in military actions unless if they decide for some reason that it's absolutely necessary. So I would say generally they are probably just waiting it out and watching what's happening. North Korea, though, is just up to its usual stuff. I think with that little statement they put out recently about the U.S. military commander adding more commanders to the military command on Sunday that they've been working on for a year on Sunday, it's pretty clear they're just trying to create tensions in the region, possibly to start escalating, see if they can get some sort of concessions or even something from the West, probably. That's usually what they do that for. That's their foreign policy approach. But I don't really think it's going to be much more than that. I can promise y'all, North Korea is not doing anything to South Korea or Japan. If they did, that would be highly destabilizing to North Korea and could possibly end the regime. So I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion, my assessment of the situation. But China's definitely waiting it out, and North Korea most likely is as well, and doing their own thing. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And we also have here a $50 support from none other than SFPG. And thank you, good sir, as well for the 50. That's generous of you. He said, I hope all is well, boys, and take you off the chat. And LSA shout out to the thick booty worms out there.
Man, that big booty worm. Man, like I tell you, man.
Thick with 2 C's. Thick.
Man, that thing throwing it back. God! Man, but beyond that, though, a big shout out to you, SFPG1. And also, everything is quite well. We've been doing quite well lately. It's been very hot, and also, it started to rain out here. And this is actually, did you know, Matthew, I saw this today. This is actually going to be one of the rainiest summers ever seen in 11 years here in the state of Utah.
Yeah, I believe it. I really do believe it, honestly.
Man, you know something that's kind of a little crazy? You see, when we moved from the South, folks, we said, oh, when we move to Utah, the weather's going to be cooler. It's not going to be as hot. And maybe it won't rain as much. It'll just snow a whole lot at some points of the year. So we moved from Alabama, where it's very hot, usually 100 degrees every day. And it doesn't really snow, but it rains a whole lot. And we moved out to Utah, and I kid you all not, our first year here, it's generally warm. There's basically no snow, and it's raining a lot. So it's basically like Alabama at this point. We literally moved here during like a complete enigma of a year in terms of the records.
Yeah, also, I drove out to the Pony Express desert today. I was wanting to go out there to. Occasionally, I like to clear the mind. You go out to a place that has like nobody around. Like, and also, by the way, it's like dead silent out here. Like, not a soul out here. It's like unreal quiet. Like, it's there's no leaves rustling. There's no noise at all. The wind makes no noise because there's nothing for it to rattle against or anything like that. Just dead silent. Like, it's almost like an anechoic chamber, but not quite that extreme. But yeah, but I've sent you a picture on Discord, by the way. You can show the people the picture I sent you right here to let the people see. Nice, blue, beautiful day out there today, I will say. Very, very nice. But I stood out there for 3 minutes. It was 101 degrees out there, and obviously it's the desert, so it's going to be hot as hell. I stood out there for 3 minutes, and I got back in the car, and I looked down at my arm, and I was sunburned as hell after 3 minutes. I was like, what the heck? I was only standing outside for like 3 minutes. I'm like, how did I get sunburned? The UV level was off the charts. Like, if you stand out there in the desert for like even a minute or two, you're getting sunburned. I didn't even know that.
Man, I guess that's why all those people from like those Wild West pictures, they like if they were like in their 50s and they've been living out there for a while, their skin would look like leather. It might be because of that.
It could be. Also, Big Berg said the night sky's amazing there. I went out there at night when we first moved out here. Like, I drove out there. I was a little bit unsure if I wanted to do it. So I was like, I don't know. Like, it's very like abandoned out there. Like, there's literally nobody out there. It's like completely empty. I was like, I'll drive out there anyway. I'm armed. Like, I'm safe. So I drove out there, and it was wild. You could see the stars like for miles. Like, it was completely barely any light pollution at all. It was the first time I've ever seen like the night sky without any type of light pollution. It was truly, you could see the stars like thousands of them out there. It was really remarkable, actually. I took some pictures of that too. I'll send them on Discord real quick, and you can show those too.
Also, man, you know something I just realized about this picture? The sky is so freaking blue in it, man. It's like the blue I remember it being when we were kids.
I have a confession to make. I did a little bit of photo touch up on it a little bit.
Like,
that's why. That's the reason why.
Oh, you little bro! I was looking at that sky. I was like, man, that's exactly how I used to remember it being a kid.
Also, another confession: my car was actually in this photo, but you notice the car's not there anymore. I edited it out of the photo.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. You should have showed this. Are you real? Like, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. My car was like on that dirt road. It was literally sitting right there. I took a picture of my car sitting there on the road, and I just took it out.
Why don't you put the car in there? Go on. Like,
I don't want people to find me and, put something on it. What'd you put on my car? I didn't do it, Sonny. I didn't do nothing to your car. I didn't put nothing on the engine. I just went right around the corner. That's all. Man,
you're going to see a police body cam on damn Midwest Safety. Bro, the cop's going to go up to that guy. Why'd you put an Apple AirTag on his car? Bro, like, it's going to be like that whole thing. Like, have you seen that one before?
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Oh, man, that guy was sitting there. I just wanted to make sure that she was safe. It's like, bro, you're stalking her. It's like you're not making sure she's safe. You're tracking her ass down, you crazy nut. But beyond that though, yeah, man, I tell you, man, that's wild there. I can't believe that you doctored that. I was looking at that picture, I was like, wow, the sky looks so blue out there. Like, I don't know what it was, folks, but when I was a kid, I remember the sky being so much more blue than it is these days. Like, nowadays, it's more of like a bluish white. I remember when I was a kid, don't know why, maybe my, like, the cones in my eyes weren't as developed as they were now, but I just remember the sky always used to look so fluorescent blue. Don't you remember that?
A little bit. I mean, you sound like you're longing for the good old days or something like that. I don't like it.
Man, shit sucks. It always has. Man, I'm like,
It used
man,
to be so much better back in the day. He always gets on my case for saying that. I'm always like, back in the day, people had more community and stuff like that. He's like, everybody likes to look back and say it was better then. I'm like, man, he's doing it right now.
well, I'm just saying, man. Like maybe when we were kids, like our cones in our eyes that like process colors, maybe they just saw everything as more vibrant. I think that's something that they actually say is like a clinical proven fact. So when you're a kid, the grass literally looks greener, the sky looks bluer, and as you grow older, like the cones in your eyes properly develop into their adult form, and it processes colors in a bit more of a mute way. I think that's like the medical explanation. But I mean, man, I remember the sky when I was a kid, man. You would look up there and that shit would be so blue. Like, it was unbelievably blue. I wish, folks, that I had the eyes that I had when I was a kid so that way I could see the world in like that bright, saturated sort of like color palette. Because it really was impressive. Like, I mean, anything looked impressive, when you
So,
have like the eyes of a kid.
so also, by the way, I got the 4 photos I can show. I'd had to check them real quick too. You can show all 4 of these right here. A different theme in every single one of them. You might like these. I'm not sure if you've seen them all.
Okay, so we on number one. Please explain.
Number one being the haunted looking picture or the one of the sky.
It's the one that is right below the first picture you uploaded, the standalone. That's
Oh,
number one.
so this one right here, I just took a picture. This is actually facing toward Lee. It's actually toward Lehigh. Actually, this is facing toward Lehigh. So you can see all the stars, stuff like that. This was taken on an iPhone, by the way. I'm not like sponsored by them or anything like that, but the iPhone 15 camera is fantastic. It has like a good exposure on it and stuff like that. That's how I was able to get these night pictures with the phone. But yeah, that's the look there toward Lehigh.
Okay, picture number two.
Okay, picture number 2. That's just a straight up picture of the stars, so you can see it straight up.
Oh, look, Orion, right here in the middle. Did you do that deliberately? Like, Orion's literally in the middle, like the constellation.
No, I actually thought I saw like a UFO or something like that, so I took a picture of that direction.
Oh, cool. Well, if y'all want to know a cool constellation, it's probably one of the most famous ones. This is Orion right here. You can see his belt, his sword. You can see him like poised to fire his bow, and you can see the bow made out of the stars over here. And up there is the Pleiades. Ain't that just neat? Ain't that something? That's pretty cool. All right, next one, number 3.
The number 3, the reason why the colors look different is because I actually took this one out the window of my car and I had the headlights on, obviously, so it exposed differently. So it created like this like color effect on the clouds, and also you can see there was a jet heading toward Salt Lake City International Airport. That's where it's heading. The airport's that direction over there. It's heading toward the Salt Lake, but this is the Pony Express highway out here in the middle of the night. It honestly, this was like the perfect thing. Like if you're making a movie like about UFOs, like flying above cars and stuff like that. This is out here like kind of toward Dugway a little bit, Dugway Proving Ground. So it's like where all the UFO sightings and stuff like that happen. So it kind of feels like that a little bit when you're driving out there.
Man, you can literally see the light pollution from Salt Lake, like on the clouds.
Yeah, actually, it's also a little bit of pollution from my car, like a little bit.
Well, yeah, but not on them clouds, though.
That's true. That's true.
Man, real shit. Anyways, fourth picture. Oh, damn, that's supposed to be the haunted one.
Well, see that when I first drove out, this is what it looked like. This is facing toward Dugway. Like out there is Dugway out that direction, and it's like a perfect haunted photo to like sort of like keep up with it. Also, like this, I turned off the lights. I literally turned off my car, like, and got out like with no lights on. It was pitch black out there. Like you couldn't see anything. You couldn't see the ground. You couldn't see anything. This was when the exposure turned all the way up. If I don't choke right now, but this is when the exposure turned all the way up. It's pitch black outside. This is what it looks like, pitch black with a camera.
Man, honestly, man, like it's really a cool environment out here, like with how it looks. It's so different than Alabama, in a lot of
Man,
interesting ways.
It's really weird too. Like if you just get out and walk around out there, like with the car off, like pitch black and stuff like that, and you're just walking, you can just like barely have a little bit of moonlight to see the road in front of you, just enough to actually like know where you're stepping a little bit. It is surreal. But it's just dead quiet out there. There's no sounds at all. You're just pitch black in the middle of nowhere in the desert. It's like weird as hell. Like it feels like it feels unreal. Like when you're walking around out there, it really does. It feels like you're like in like some Netherlands or something like that.
Man, I'll tell you a place that's really weird to walk around is like the mountains around here, man. It's like being in a foreign country. It's not even like it's in the United States anymore. It's like somewhere else, like the Alps in Switzerland or up in Canada. Oh, this is the same mountain range. That one isn't really a good comparison. Like the Carpathians in Ukraine or the Alps in Italy or Switzerland or Austria or France. Like honestly, man, it's just a cool place. It's got a lot of variety to it.
Yeah, it is really cool. I would say my favorite places out here so far has been the little Cottonwood area. That's nice for scenery. The desert area out here where Pony Express is at, that's just unusual because I've never been in like a true desert where it's like out in the middle of nowhere like that. And it's within driving distance, 40 minutes, like outside the city. It's not too far away, like in the scheme of things. And then also the Salt Lake area. That's also insane too. Like the Salt Flats, that's an insane, surreal area too to walk around that.
Man, it's just so cool out here, it's just so cool. Let me see here if I can show y'all something here from this restaurant. Where the hell was that restaurant anyways? It was up here, right? Yeah, this is it. What a cool place. Like that literally looks like Switzerland, man. Like you could tell me, "Oh yeah, this is like the French Alps." And if I wasn't really looking at the picture too long, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I believe you."
Yeah, honestly, it kinda does feel like that. It really does. Like, it's just weird how you can go from, like, the desert, like, 40 minutes to the west, you can go to the desert, like, where I was taking those pictures. Then you can go about 40 minutes to the east, and you're in the Alps. You go 40 minutes north, and you're in the, like, Salt Lake, unfortunately, like, the drying up Salt Lake, which is not really, very good to see. But then you go south, and then you're on, like, the western towns, like, where the, like, heavy Mormon populations are at down there, like, we're still very, like, westernized feeling. Like, you go down there and you got that. It's weird. You go any direction, you have a weird, like, different, like, type of scenery.
Yeah, it's just so interesting, honestly. It's a really cool place to explore because you can literally drive a couple of miles and the terrain will change completely. It's really like being in the UK that way, thinking about it. Because, in the UK, you could drive like 20 miles and you could be in a totally different part of the country as far as what it looked like with the natural scenery. And out here around Salt Lake, it's very similar. Like if you go north up here, the mountains further north are completely different than like the Lone Peak area. And the Lone Peak area is very different than what's behind it to the east. And then when you go west, or even further west into the Salt Flats, all that's totally different than each other within like less than an hour drive of the last place that you're at, which is just very fascinating. It gives a lot of variety to what you can see and do around here as far as nature goes.
Yeah, I like it personally. It's pretty cool, especially for the exploring aspect. Very cool.
Man, you know what's really cool is driving along the shore of Utah Lake on this road because when you look out at it, it literally looks like an inland ocean. Like it's just like like this weird like pristine like pastel blue. And it just goes on to the mountains. Like you don't really see the city or anything out there. You just see mountains everywhere around it. So it looks like a big inland ocean or like a bay that connects to the greater part of the sea.
Yeah, I want to get out there and like get in that water, like not swimming it, but like on a boat.
You can get in the water in Utah Lake actually.
Yeah, I don't think you really want to though.
I don't really think you want to get in the water out in the ocean these days anymore either, but a lot of people do.
I get in the ocean.
Bro, what the hell, man? I get in the ocean, man. It's like, what the hell, bro? It's like, yeah, that's very obvious.
William, did you shambok that man?
I give him the medicine. Like, it's like, what do you mean the medicine?
Cooked him nicely.
Bro, and man, then they said, bro, next day, that guy got into a bit of a problem. They go out to the village. He tried to burn a man. Bro, it's like, what? It's like, wait, he did what?
Man, I tell you.
Did you really try and burn that, man? Yes, I did. Man, it's like, why, man? It's like, why would you ever think you could do that? But anyways, with that, it is time for us to move on and into the next one.
And our next one here goes to super official, McConnell, and thank you for the $50 support. This is not him, by the way, to make it clear. This is just a parody. But he said, hope all is well, boys. And take one from the chat and LSA, and shout out to the thick worms out there. And also, is that what he said? I feel like I got the wrong one. I did get the wrong one somehow. I don't know how that happened. He said, it's me, very much alive and well. Just wanted to announce I changed my mind and we'll be running again in November. And some certain hashtags there I'm scared to read. I'm not sure what kind of repercussions are going to come out of this.
Boy, you trying to get us like you trying to get us some cease and desist. You calm now. But big thanks to you for the support. That's wild as hell right there. I tell you, I know who that is, but that's wild as hell. But a big thanks to your support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have here a $40 super chat from Chef Danny B once again. And thank you very much, Chef Danny, for the second one right there. And we do appreciate that. He said, Chef Danny again. And I think I speak for everyone in the LSA and chat to say thank you for everything y'all do and spend your time to keep us updated. And y'all definitely need some time off in LSA. And thank you, Danny, for that, by the way. Very kind words of you. And we do appreciate that, sincerely speaking. I will say... I don't know what's going on, folks. I am struggling tonight. I feel like I got dust in my lungs right now or something. That's crazy. The water's not helping either. But I honestly feel like some time off would be good. It's just really hard to do that because, for one, I really can't shut my brain off from doing this, like to go like do something like that. But like it would be nice for a small little break here and there, like just to reset a little bit. I do like a little break occasionally. But Enforcer, what say you?
You sound like you're kind of getting a little tired, boy. Like you're trying to get a little break coming around.
Boy.
I just said it to add to the southern voice. You trying to get some time around? Get some time off?
Man, this company doesn't have PTO. It has pay time on.
Man, that's true. Like we do not have any social nets, folks. Here, we just working until we drop dead. But beyond that, though, you sound like you might be considering getting some time off. Is that right?
Well, you see, I'm between my second job of working in the coal mines with no PPE and also coming on the stream. I mean, it's tough for the lungs, boss.
I mean, honestly, man, it is tough for the lungs. God dang. Like I'll tell you, it's tough on my lungs. But outside of that, though, I'd have to say, honestly, folks, I feel like at some point around, we are going to have to take some time off because, come to think of it, we have not taken any time off at all. This year, I don't think, rather than like 1 or 2 nights where there's like a tech issue or something. So it's coming around. Actually, we haven't had any time off since that time in the late 2024, in the early fall of 2024, when we went on the Coast Starlight. Since then, any time that we've taken off has been not by our choice. Like we were either having to move or one of us got ill. Usually it was me. Usually I got pretty sick. Or something else was happening, where we'd have to take the time off. Like every single time we've taken time off since the Coast Starlight trip, we have not been doing it for vacation. It's literally been just for life and work related stuff. So I would eventually like to get some time off. I would like to get some time off and do something nice. But sadly, folks, it's very hard to do that. It was, at least as far as the YouTube channel works, because if we try and take time off, YouTube might like tick us in the algorithm down a notch, and then that could cause a whole bunch of issues, or people might get disinterested and leave. Generally we've learned though over the while that we can generally be off air for like a week, and people will still be waiting. So we know a week's fine, but anything longer than that, we have no clue. That's uncharted waters, and we don't want to find out. Like really.
I've been trying to get in the trip to Israel eventually. Like I've been trying to, like I've never had a chance to get the trip in. I just haven't had the time, but I've always had it queued up.
So when did this come about? when did this come about? What's going on here?
You don't know?
Man, did they accept our offer? Are we in?
Hey man, there's no offer, nothing like that.
I'm just kidding.
I ain't trying to get no rumor like that started at all. I'm just joking.
Boy, bro, man, you sitting there playing around with like matches, bro. I threw a hand grenade in, bro. You said, man, we're going on a trip, bro. I said, dude, yeah, people are probably gonna start working a conspiracy theory on that one.
They would definitely let me in though. Like I wouldn't be one of those people that's like they're turning me away or something like that. I'd be like, oh yes, come on in. I'd be like, hey, wait a minute, wait a minute now.
Something ain't right here. Like something's going on. But anyway, so that we are on to the next one.
And our next one here is going to go to none other than Detroit Adam, who put in a 20. And thank you very much, Detroit Adam, for the 20. And he said, happy first birthday, Laney Danger. And born and raised in the LSA with the Enforcers. Best education money can buy. And also, thank you. And also, happy birthday to your daughter. He said, I mean it. And keep it up, guys. And good luck, Elliot, in the fishing tournament in Marine City, Michigan tomorrow in LSA.
And a big good luck to Elliot in his fishing tournament in Marine City, Michigan. And a happy first birthday to Laney Danger. I gotta say, that's really nice to hear, Detroit Adam. The kind words saying that's the best education money can buy. And hopefully the youths of this republic will be far more educated and far smarter and wiser than all of us, I hope. I think that should always be the hope for every generation, is that they'll hopefully be smarter and wiser than we all are. And hopefully they will. Hopefully Laney Danger will be one of them. And so a happy first birthday. Amazing thing to hear right there. And thank you so much for the kind words and helping this channel to keep on running. And long live the Lee Spring Army. And we're on the next one.
We also have a $20 support from Plow Guy EDU, and thank you, Plow Guy, as well, for the 20. He said, do you think a total siege is necessary? Energy, water, bridges, railway, and inbound roads?
I don't think so. I think that might do much more to make the Iranian people hate us than it would to win us the war. So I would say probably not. Like only if it's absolutely necessary. And I take that standpoint at every level of a war being fought. An action should only be taken if it is necessary. Anything beyond the necessary, yeah, I'm not a big fan of. It's generally a waste in many ways. But a big thanks to you for your support and help this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 20 from USDA approved Jenna last name tolls, and thank you very much. Good approved, a good grade A. They say $20 support. We do appreciate it. And he said squirrel.
Are you squirreling? Have you seen that?
Oh no! Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I know all about that.
Man, damn, oh man. But beyond that,
Spreading that blasphemy.
well, let's not go. I don't really want to get a letter. Like, I think we're good. But beyond that, though, I do thank you greatly for support. USDA approved Jenna last name tolls, and a big thanks to you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, man, bro, you literally threw the hand grenade in it. That damn blasphemy. Bro, I was like, whoa. I was like, wait a minute. These people truly are litigious, so you do not want to do that.
I got a right to an opinion. Let them have their way.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Let
sure,
me have my way.
but also, I mean, I have a right to an opinion as well. But also, you're like, Dad, don't say that, like because, like like some people,
You don't have a right to nothing.
Oh, damn! What do I live in? The Soviet Union?
Yeah, my name's Matt Lennon. I'm Matt Jung Il. I'm the illest.
Man, because he's suffering the realist. Man,
They call me Matt Lennon.
man. I tell you, man, that's wild. that's some wild shit. But anyways,
That brings us to our best part of the show. We're going to sell you something nice today. A Matt Linen. That's what we call a Matt Linen. The best Egyptian cotton, of course, from Gaza, or from Giza. Giza. Whoops. Not Gaza. Giza, that is where the cotton comes from. A nice Matt Linen. That's what they call it. It's a good thing, sir. Matt Linen. That's what they call it. Matt Steaks. Matt Soda, Matt Everything, that's what they call it. Doormat, that's a great one there. Perfect branding. It was like built into the name, Matt's for the door. That's what they call it. Right at the door, he's welcoming you in. That doormat, that's a great thing. Double T, they call it double T.
They call it double T because he's spilling all of the tea. But anyways, with that, we're on the next one.
Man, that was a bad mess up right there with the Giza Gaza mix up. But anyway, so moving into our next one, this one goes to Big Berg, who puts in a 20. And thank you, Big Berg, as well. He said, the USA can bomb from the air all they want, but it'll do no good until boots are on the ground taking control of these cave systems and Iranian man pads. And thank you, guys. Sleep must be a real treat.
Sleep is a real treat. My sleep schedule is getting obliterated these days because for some reason I can't really sleep easily right now. It must be the stress, the unknown stresses. I wouldn't know what the hell they even are at this point. It's like I just kind of live with the stress at this point. Although honestly, folks, I don't ever really feel that stressed really. But sometimes I'll get like things going, like recently over this past week, I cannot get to sleep on time. Like I'll stay up now. Usually I try and get to sleep around like 2:30 in the morning here. and I go to sleep at like 4 and 4:30 now, and I'm not trying to stay up that long. I literally just can't go to sleep. And I'll be like, what in the world is keeping me up this long? And usually they say stuff like, oh, well, if you can't sleep on time like that, you're either an insomniac, and that could be like a result of stress, or it could just be stress. And it's like, I don't feel stressed out, but maybe it's a stress response to something I don't even know is stressing me. I have no clue. I mean, I can't even think of anything that really would be stressing me right now. But beyond that, though, sleep is a treat. To circle back around to that, it is a treat. And I would say, there in a way we might have to invade the country, but it's going to be very politically unpopular, and that's why they're avoiding that as much as they can. Because if we're all being entirely honest, the war is politically unpopular at this point, as it is. And so they're trying to not dig the grave deeper as far as the political side goes for the upcoming midterms by invading Iran on the ground, because if they did that before the midterms, right now it's shaky ground. They could completely lose it if that happens. So that's why I think they're trying to avoid, and that's why they're not doing that. If they somehow secure, like, to be entirely honest with y'all folks, if I'm being frank, if they do secure the midterms, I think they're probably going to try and do a ground invasion of some sort. Because at that point, their position will be secure for the remaining 2 years. But anyways, a big thanks to you for the support. Now with this channel to keep running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have 20 from USDA Jenna last name tolls once again, and thank you for the 20 once more. They said, how many Peace in the Middle East pressers have we watched now? Almost like 3. It's almost like a reality TV show, isn't it? And it really is. I also, by the way, peace in the Middle East, I mean, that's something there. It's not really achievable. I mean, it's just not realistic. So whenever someone says we have peace in the Middle East, I'm like, my BS meter starts going off instantly. Like, unless something has like a miracle has been performed or something, which I don't see any miracles happening anytime soon in that region, then that's not going to happen. But Enforcer, what say you?
I don't see miracles ever happening in the Middle East, straight up. But beyond that, I would agree. And so a huge thanks to you for support. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a $20 support from Ella MC Wills Nafo, who put in a 20, and thank you, Ella, as well. And Ella said, cheers, Enforcers. I hope you're both doing well. I just wanted to give you something for the caffeine or the Costco chicken fun, and any train progress pictures, and take one from the chat in LT and Slava Ukraine.
I actually haven't had a moment to get back to the whole train side of things. But it went quite well. I mean, I did, actually, man, did I ever show them, like, the rusted up completed one?
I think you did. I think you did the last time.
I think I did. I think I did, maybe. You know what? Let me send it again, just so that way I can make sure to touch base on that, because we do want to get to the rest of the super chats, but we also want to do our due diligence the best we can. So, let's see here. The completed version, and I'll make sure to pull up the legit picture so I can show y'all here, because the one rail car, the ex-Missouri Pacific one, it's done. And I won't be showing the other side this time around. I'll just show this side. But this is the side that I completed with the rust spots. And this is the one that is compared to in real life. Literally as close as I could get. I tried to photocopy it. So this is mine. And that's the real one. So I feel like I got pretty close. And so that I haven't really done a lot since then. I've been trying to work on designing the layout, and I've been trying to work on designing a limestone quarry, and how all that would work. So I haven't really gotten around to any more weathering, but I really am wanting to get back down there and get to the graffiti, and all the other stuff that I was trying to do to the rail car. So I hope that does address that the best I can. And a huge thanks to you for support, and long live the Lee Spring Army. And we're on the next one.
We also have a 20 from Blind Man, and Blind Man said not much to report, but 6 Freedom-class littoral combat ships, USS Fort Worth, USS Sioux City, USS Little Rock, USS Detroit, USS Milwaukee, and USS Freedom have been decommissioned sooner than expected by 11 years. And LTLSA, and good night.
Man, you gotta give a shout out to that French ship, that USS Freedom. Man, I'm like,
Freedom.
Man,
Freedom.
man, freedom. But beyond that, hey, yo, man. But beyond that, though, a lot of those LCSs are running into a big amount of issues, both the Independence and Freedom classes. I know the Independence class is having hull fracturing issues, like stress fractures, because of its a little bit more modern design than we could really build, honestly. And then also the Freedom class is having its own issues as well. Honestly, the whole LCS thing was kind of a bit of a failure, if we're being completely frank, because a lot of them are looking at very early retirements, and they were expected to serve for a significant period. But a huge thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep running. And with that, we're on the next one.
And our next one is going to go to Justin, who puts in a 20 and said, another wonderful show, guys, and take a chat question, too.
Hey, and thank you so much for the kind words. We will make sure to take one from the chat. So what do we got, Matthew?
And this one, in honor of Justin, is going to go to Sharp Gaming, who said, "Here's the question: Why wouldn't Ukraine make their own, or would someone in the USA get a cut since it's patented tech, and the US gets some cash to lay the groundwork for the factories?"
The thing is, I wouldn't really know a lot about the acquisition side on that, but to try and explain it the best I can, the U.S. just isn't willing to allow for domestic production be sent to Ukraine because generally they don't like Ukraine, being completely frank, and that's kind of the main problem right now, is that even if we had the surplus production or stockpile, we just wouldn't give it to them. So I hope that does address that the best I can, and a big thanks to your sponsor in a live chat and helping this channel to keep running. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also, by the way, for anybody wondering, because like the very obvious question is, well, why does Ukraine need to license produce an air defense missile from the U.S.? Why don't they just build their own? They build every other missile, so why not just build that? It's a little bit more complicated because there's a lot of very advanced algorithms that go into intercepting missiles. That's an entirely different ballgame than hitting a stationary target on the ground. You have to have very advanced software that can intercept and also calculate the trajectory of these incoming projectiles and also move the missile in flight to actually hit it. So it's a lot more complex by a long shot than simply like producing a Flamingo or something like that, like an FP5. It's way more complicated. And I'm not sure if Ukraine, unfortunately, has that ability right now. I'm not going to underestimate them though. Like maybe they'll come out with their own eventually, but that's a very lofty goal. But moving into our next one here, this one goes to Jeff Hanley, who puts in a 20. And Jeff said, "I'm curious, what do you think Poland should do? They would get slaughtered if Russia sent thousands of drones at them at once. And NATO and Poland sadly isn't ready for drone warfare, just like the USA, and Iran proved it."
Well, generally, the one thing that certainly won't be avoiding that sort of an end result is being as weak and tepid as most European countries are currently, because it's going to happen either way at this point, if we're being honest. So it would be a lot better for them to confront Russians when the Russians aren't ready, rather than having the Russians confront the Poles when the Poles are still not ready and Russia's ready. So I hope that addresses that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And a big thanks to you for your support and help this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have $20 support from Cerberus3 once again. And thank you very much, Cerberus, for all the generous support. He said, "Note there have been multiple third-party tests on pre-ground coffee that our average American go to. A lot of dirt. Get coffee beans and grind using a reusable filter. Plus, you can buy beans in bulk if you just take time and cheaper." And that's what I do. I actually grind the coffee from whole beans. So that's why I have a machine that does that. And I've had that machine for a while. Andrew has one too, but his broke on him for some reason. It's just stopped working. So he has to get the warranty on that before it runs out. But yeah, I grind my own beans and use reusable filters. But Enforcer, what say you?
That's exactly the same thing I do as well, at least when my machine was working. So big thanks to you for your support and helping this channel to keep it running. And we are on to the next one.
And also, in honor of Cerberus' super chat, Cerberus threw in a live chat question and said, "Have you two covered Ukraine shooting down a Russian Su fighter, considering a second one was lost?"
I'd heard about the first one getting shot down, but I never heard about a second one getting shot down. All I know is that an F-16 shot down an Su-30, which according to the Russians shouldn't have been possible, but it was done because their stuff sucks. But big thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 20 from LSA Rocks Marmot, and thank you very much, Marmot, for that $20 support. They said a coffee fund and maybe some dinner.
Dinner? Dinner? Oh, you know what? Dinner would be nice, actually. I'm actually kind of getting a little bit peckish right now. And so a big thanks to you for support and the kind words, LSA Rocks Marmot. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 20 from Cindy, and thank you, Cindy, as well for that support. They said you could say, and some says, the United States kind of created the current Iran situation with the 1953 CIA-backed coup of the democratically elected leader of Iran. And what do you think?
Honestly, yeah, we did. If we're being completely honest, sadly, yes, that is true. We kind of really, it was kind of Soviet and American meddling in the Middle East that's kind of led to the radical Islamic extremism we see today. Because before that, they were all trying to figure out who in the world they were, and because of all of the meddling that we conducted in the region and the Russians conducted in the region, they decided that they found out who they were, and they were our enemy for the most part. So, a little unfortunate with that. But a big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep running, and I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 20 from JC Tiflor once again. He said, ranking run, top 10, normal. Cheers.
Hey, and a big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep it running. And as far as the ratings went, if that's what you're talking about, We actually, I think we're number 30 in America yesterday. We were number 14 the day before that, but we usually hover around up there. But top 10, hey, that's not bad. I'll take it. So big thanks to your support and of this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a $14 support from Mariah IF, and thank you, Mariah, as well. They said, thank you, Enforcers, for the hard work and the humor, and why doesn't NATO be proactive and man the Baltic borders and the Suwalki Gap, and is it logistics?
It's because they're afraid. Why? I don't know, because it's like, if we keep being afraid like this, someone's going to come around and they're going to take our lunch. It's like, so eventually we're just going to have to get to confronting them at some point, and they still won't, which is very frustrating. But a huge thanks to your support and help this channel to keep it running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And a big shout out to Punisher of the North for the $10 support and said, big thanks, Enforcers, for all you do. And I asked Enforcer Daniel if he wanted me to say anything to you guys, and he said, China's bad, LOL, and LT LSA.
And the People's Republic of China and the Chinese Communist Party, they're a pretty shifty group. I'd agree. And I also got to thank you so much for the support and a big shout out indeed to Enforcer Daniel. I hope he's doing well out there and having a great time. And also a great thing to know that you're also here, Punisher of the North. And so a humongous thanks to you so much once again and helping this channel to keep running. And long live the Lee Spring Army. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 20 from Big Berg once again, and thank you, Big Berg, for that 20 right there. He said, thank you for the answer, and I'm sorry you're stressed, but caffeine won't help. I'm a retired paramedic and firefighter. I also worked at an ER in Reno. I drank pots of coffee before my 12-hour shift. Gosh, my armpits. Thank you, guys.
You don't know what the hell. I'm just kidding with you, by the way, Big Berg. Yeah, caffeine's probably what's making it hard for me to go to sleep, because I've got to have a cup of coffee to run the show. And over the years, I feel like I've gotten more and more tired in my normal state, and I think it's because I started to drink coffee. I think that's where it was, or I'm just getting older. Because everyone jokes about ung status.
Hey, 24.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, everyone jokes about, by the time you hit like your mid and late 20s, you start hitting ung status as far as that goes, and staying up late even by then feels kind of rough. So, like, maybe it's that. I don't think so. I think it's probably the coffee, really, if I had to blame it on anything. But I gotta have the coffee to run this show, because if I don't, I'm like basically falling asleep here before the show's even on air. But a huge thanks to your support and helping this channel to keep it running. And I definitely probably need to back off of it a little bit. But sadly, I can't. It's like I'm not one of those people who say I can quit anytime I want. I know I can. I got to run this show. But big thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Coffee's a love-hate thing for me. Like in the morning, like drinking coffee gets me more anxious than I usually am. It amps me up a lot. But at the same time, though, without it, I'm a wreck without it. So it's like a love-hate thing. It's just a tough deal, but I gotta have it. But moving into our next one here, this one goes to Con45, who put in a 10, who said, no more Patriot missiles for Ukraine, apparently. No more Patriot missile licenses for Ukraine to build their own. And guys, this is not Article 25. It's treason.
I would say it's ridiculous, and it's absolutely stupid to see. And of course, like I gotta say, folks, I had the worst expectations when I heard that. I was like, whatever. I was like, I wouldn't even want to report it because it's not going to ever happen, and it didn't. And yeah, like I was like, well, my analysis of that, it came true literally within the next day. So a big thanks to you for support and help this channel to keep running. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also, by saying that's addiction. I mean, it could be, now that I think about it. Like if somebody's like addicted to something, like like a bad narcotic or something like that. If they try to get off of, they're all scratchy and stuff like that, like like scratching and stuff. It's like that's kind of how I am without the coffee, or with the coffee too. Like with the coffee, I'm like all amped up and like overthinking, like acting goofy and stuff like that. Especially early in the morning when I drink it. I try to burn it off by doing a little bit of exercise or something. But at night though, it does me fine. But in the morning though, it gets me all wound up too much in the morning. But without it, like I said, I'm a wreck. But moving into our next one here, this one goes to Chef Danny B once again, who puts in a 20. And thank you once again, Chef Danny, for the third support of the night. He said, Chef Danny again, and a big shout out to Enforcer Daniel from the official chef of the LSA, and gotta love the name LT LSA.
I gotta say, it's really cool to know that there's an Enforcer Daniel around here, and a big shout out to him once again on behalf of Chef Danny B. And I gotta say, long live the Lee Spring Army and long live the Republic, and we're on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from Streewy, who put in a 10 and said, F-35 went down today at MCAS Miramar. Pilot ejected safely. And also, can you unban my account AAARON? Not sure why I can't chat, and thanks.
I don't think that one was ever banned. I'm not sure. Heather, do you know?
I was saying I don't think so. That's what I was saying.
It didn't come through on the mic. I literally hear, oh. I was like, can you weigh in? Really? Man, I was like, bro, that's literally all I heard. I was like, are you there?
Man, I hate to say it, but occasionally, like I do take ban appeals. By the way, like if someone got banned out of the chat and then they emailed me or something like that, like I'll like most of the time I'll just unban the people and say just don't do that again. Like I'm not one of these people that's like you did it once, you f off you bastard. I'm like well like, yeah if you're like I'm sorry, like I'll let you back in the chat. But at the same time though, sadly when people email me, like there's so many people, like so many bots that get banned every single night, like it's got to be in the tens of thousands at this point, like over the course of the channel. It's a load of people, mainly bots that have been banned. Also some real people too that were being assholes to us and stuff from time to time. But sadly, I really can't keep track of each one of them as there's simply too many bots being banned, and to remember each individual one would overload my memory circuits. So sadly, I just can't remember.
But we do thank you greatly for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. Thank you so much for sharing that with us as well about the F-35. We actually did cover that. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 10 from Bo Williams. He said, July 2026, Spain's Supreme Court ruled that this special summary return procedure does not apply to people intercepted while trying to reach the Spanish African enclaves of Ceuta or Melilla by sea.
Interesting. Very, very interesting to hear there. As far as that's kind of their internal policies. It looks like most people in the EU though are not big fans of that. They're saying get them out of the Schengen area. It's like, well, it's like that's at that point kind of their issue. As far as I'm concerned, I would say that that's not good. Like I can say that's not good, but if Spain's doing what they're doing, then I guess it is what it is. If people do stuff for good or for bad, they kind of reap the consequences of whatever it is, whether it be positive or negative. But big thanks to your support.
Once you take the S out of Spain, you're just left with pain.
Man, I live in Spain without the S. Man, but beyond that, so with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from Ruin, who said, regarding the North Korean lamentations, why do all the Axis nations of Asia seem deathly terrified of Japan, their military resurgence being spurred on by Washington, and they're more scared of Japan?
Well, it's because back when Japan actually kind of like did their own thing as the empire, they kind of went a little too hard on people, and they ended up killing tens of millions of innocent people in most of these countries. And so that's kind of why people are scared of them, because they're kind of scared that they might return back to that. Because it's not really talked about as much, and I feel like this is such a disservice to the story of the Second World War. It's not really talked about as much what the atrocities were that Japan conducted in the war. Like everybody hears about the Holocaust and the gulags in Eastern Europe and whatnot, and you hear about all of those atrocities, but you never hear about Japan's. And Japan conducted atrocities that were on a scale that, at least in terms of the actual conduct of a war, not even Germany could get close to. Germany was more of an industrialized atrocity creator. Japan was just an atrocity on itself. Like if the Japanese army came in your area, there's a high chance you were going to not be alive before long. And it wasn't like they'd send you off somewhere. The army would get you. Like that's why most of them are very scared of the Japanese rearming, is because they remember what Japan once was. Because if you look into anything of what Japan did, I mean, it was on the level of the atrocities in Europe easily. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address it the best I can. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 10 from Jonathan Scheitlin. And thank you, Jonathan, as well for the 10. He said, gentlemen, question for you. Based on the inopportunity in Alabama, Birmingham, how'd you fellows make it out?
We made
Now,
it out.
I will say this, like we didn't come from the trenches. Like, I will say that, like that Birmingham was rough. It was the murder capital for a long while. That was downtown for the most part. We lived in the nice part of Birmingham where it wasn't dangerous. It was like the suburbs part of it. So we weren't necessarily like in the trenches per se, like to so-called make it out. But like to get out of there and like out to Utah, honestly, like really, we just picked up and moved. Really, that was as simple as it was. We simply said, "Okay, we're packing up and moving." And we just moved out here. It was literally like that. Now, granted, it took a lot of planning to get out of there. Like we did a hell of a lot of planning, searching, and stuff like that to settle in Salt Lake. But it was just like that.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, that's probably the short and sweet of it. So big thanks to your support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 10 from Treetop, who said, here's a 10 spot. And what's your honest opinion on what will happen when our Patriot and Tomahawks are so depleted that they can no longer position our military overseas?
We'll be in a very concerning position strategically. No one's going to go to war with us overnight just because of that, because they might not be ready to go to war with us. And most countries generally avoid war because they're economically destructive. So we would be in a very significant strategic bind, though. With the wars that we're looking at that could be around the corner any day now, if one of those kicked off for some reason, we would be completely unprepared for it at that point. So I hope that does address that the best I can. And a big thanks to your support and helping this channel to keep it running. And with that, we are on and into the next one.
We also have a 10 from DWRB, who said, just getting home from my vacation, Charleston, South Carolina to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is a hell of a drive. And that's nothing. That's like a small little drive right there. That's like going across town compared to the drive we made from Alabama to Utah. That was crazy. But he said, got to enjoy the beach and catch up with some old friends and check out the USS Yorktown.
Oh, neat. The USS Yorktown. I would like to see that myself. I've heard of that museum ship before, and it would be cool. Be really cool to see it. And also, I would have to say, Charleston, South Carolina to Philadelphia. That's a bit of a lengthy drive. I mean, like Charleston, South Carolina to Philly. How long would that be in a straight line? About 570 miles. I mean, that's like we did that daily actually, getting out here to Salt Lake from Alabama. But like for an average drive, that would be quite long. It's extremely long, really. That'd be like the maximum range I would normally do. So I do have to say, quite the drive, but also a really cool time to hang out and see all the folks, say hello to them and all. And so big thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 7 from Winston Smith, who said, I hear NATO's built up a huge arsenal of strongly worded letters. Watch out, Russia. And love the show. And long live the LSA and slava Ukraine.
Sally, that's probably very true. But big thanks to you so much for your support. Long live the Leaf Spring Army. And thank you for the kind words and helping this channel to keep on running. And we're on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Punisher of the North once again, who put in a 5 and said, Enforcer Matt Rock and LT LSA.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support. And thank you so much for saying we rock. You rock, and you're supporting this channel to help us to make this thing possible. So you definitely rock. And so a huge thanks to you once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Olaf Hednar, who said, why the heck does the U.S. flop like they do, a flip-flop? Trying to not be political, but how can the U.S. citizen trust the government institutions when they do this?
Well, I mean, we really don't like at this point. But yeah, the flip-flopping is ridiculous, honestly, Ulf Hednar. It's not normal. I mean, usually flip-flopping like this, if flip-flopping like this is literally unheard of historically. This is the first time ever that this has been seen to this degree. And I can't even tell you how much I loathe it. It's ridiculous, and it makes us look like a joke. But a huge thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from Gary Schreiber, who said crowd control with water cannons infused with swine byproduct.
What the hell? What the?
What kind of byproduct are we talking about?
Man, I don't even know. But I thank you for the support. That's a very interesting take there. And with that, we're on the next one.
Oh, I just made the reference right there. But our next one goes to Altst Moody, who puts in a 5 and said, isn't there a chance these missiles are having their Russian version of GLONASS jammed until they pass over Ukraine, like the missile that turned back around?
It's unlikely. Because generally, I don't believe that cruise missiles really work in that regard where they could be jammed like that. I think most of the time that's an analog system that conducts that navigation for them, if I'm not mistaken, in most missiles. So that way they don't fall into that sort of a issue. Or if there is any sort of jamming, they have a backup system that is an analog system, so that way it cannot be jammed in that manner, I believe. So big thanks to you for support and help this channel to keep running, and I hope that does address that the best I can, at least from what I know. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from RC Minist, who said, you guys have got to see the Anduril Thunder. Also, by the way, they have marketed that thing fantastic. You're like I think the 10th person has mentioned that one Anduril product right there. They said, but what do you think it's pairing with the MV-75? And with that range, what do you think of the tactics and downed F-15 pilot?
I would have to say that, unfortunately, I don't know enough about the Anduril Thunder to be able to answer that question too well. I would say it's really cool looking, and it probably has a really interesting role in future conflicts, but outside of that, I wouldn't really be able to speculate on it too much, because I just haven't looked into it more than the marketing. But a huge thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep running, and I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from Russ Rizzo. He said, have you heard research scientists have started a safer work account called Only Marms for chunky marmots after research funding dried up?
Actually, I did hear about that. Like, for some reason, it showed up on my Instagram feed the other day. They were like, "There's an only Marms," and I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, What is this?" And then they're like, "Well, the funding was cut." I was like, "Oh yeah, man." And next thing, you know, man, the Forestry Service is going to start an only trees.
Man, I don't understand. Like, I just don't like. I'm not. I understand like they're like the reasoning behind it. They're trying to do like a play on the thing, but it's like if you really think deep about it, it's like this OnlyFans thing is kind of like known for one particular thing. It's like, what are we saying here? Like, what are we saying here about this only Marms? Like, I think am I thinking too deep about it?
Nah, man, you ain't. Because everybody who's getting an only moms wants to see some tail, literal tail. But
No.
I had to clarify that. Man, oh, bro, you turned into Polly right there. You went, oh, but beyond that, man. But beyond that,
Lock them up.
wait a minute, what?
Lock them up.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. You said that while I was saying something that almost sounded like something different there. I was like, hey, what? I was like, man,
What the hell does it sound like?
man, knock him
Nothing?
up. I was like, what the hell? I was
Oh,
like, the hell's wrong with
hell
you, boy?
no.
I'm
What the
like,
hell? No. You know that guy that's like the dude that was like creeping up on those fishing people at the pond. He's like, you on private property, lock them up.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm trying to imitate that old dude. I'm not saying nothing nasty or nothing like that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you're not. But anyways, a big thanks to your support and help with this channel to keep it running, Russ Rizzo. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 2 from Uncovered Cube, and thank you very much for that support as well, Uncovered Cube. And also a huge shout out to Plazoth for also putting in a 2, and we appreciate the both of you very much. And also, while we're at it, a big shout out to McNavera, who put in a 2, along with Russ Rizzo, who put in a 1. And a big shout out to all 4 of y'all for that support, and we do appreciate it. We also have a 2 from Specific Gravity, who said, just took a huge Vlad and wiped my Putin.
Damn. Man, wow. that was something. Like that was actually something right there. A big thanks to your support and help with this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
And also we have a 2 from Jason Curling. He said, feel colonizers get colonized by a country invaded.
Oh, I think
Colonizer talk. I don't know about his colonizer talk.
I mean, isn't every country like a colonizer? I mean, you know, it's like, it's like, you know, like we're being honest, you know, it's like, you know, like at one point Spain was like majority all Andalus because it was being colonized by the Islamic invaders of the Mamluks. But you know, whatever. I guess.
I feel like it's a slur. I feel like that's like being used as like a slur these days. Like every country on the planet, like technically took the land from somebody. It's like every country on the planet's taking something from somebody. It wasn't just like, you know, unless you're like the original founder of the land or something like that. It's like then you took it from somebody. Like technically, every country on the planet's a colonizer.
Man, damn colonizers. It's like, okay, it's like, which ones aren't? China? No. Because Tibet is a thing. India? No, because they once tried to bring Pakistan back under their control. Persia? No. Iran? No, not either. You know, it's like, which countries are not colonizers? Like, that's always been my question when I hear that. And the answer legitimately is that at some point in some countries' history, they were a colonizer. And some of them aren't. And then some people will say, well, yeah, but those countries aren't colonizers anymore. It's like, well, yeah, but by that definition, Britain and America aren't colonizers anymore because they're not going around colonizing anyone, but they still get called that. So it's like, what's the rule behind like a country being a colonizer and not? You know, it's like, what is that? Because every single one of them has been. So I don't know about that one. But big thanks to your support and help this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on to the live chats and the Morse code decoders. So what do we got?
And we have the whole roster. We have Paul, Kevin, Mason, Joni, Norm, Arabelle, Her Royal Fluffness, Kush, Secretary Sire, and Brian. And they said, the Morse code said, Iran is about to find out what lasts longer, a modern British Prime Minister or a strike campaign, LTLSA.
And ding, and that's the sound of money. Y'all got the deal of the deal. That's the worst commission of the night. Hey, and I gotta say, y'all got that right again. It's unbelievable. Hey, and I gotta give y'all a huge shout out once again for getting that right time and time again because y'all are always getting it right and y'all never get that thing wrong. Y'all never do. And so a big shout out to Lee Springer and Cinema Call once again. And with that, it's time for us to move on and into the third to last question of the night.
And this one goes to Tiger, who said, do you think it's possible that Iran could attack the U.S. power network?
With cyber attacks, maybe some sort of sabotage attacks, maybe. But, you know, generally, Not really. Outside of those direct attacks, it's largely impossible. So I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the second to last question of the night.
And this one's going to go to AF Kaplan, who said, what's your take on the cyber attack on the water facilities in Minnesota? And do you think China aided with that attack with Iran?
Generally, a lot of these countries actually have advanced cyber warfare groups on their own. They don't really need a lot of foreign support. So Iran probably did it on their own. And I would say that's a little bit of a concern, because if that was to happen and say they started to allow for untreated sewage water to somehow bypass multiple safeties and then recirculate into the drinking water supply, that could cause a significant public health risk, like an outbreak of cholera or something similar. So I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the final question of the night. And so, who is the lucky last person who threw in the lucky last question of the night?
And this viewer is going to be none other than Brittany, who said, wouldn't we want to only strike power grids right before a takeover or invasion? And I don't see the point of leaving Iran without power for long if there's no follow-up operation.
Honestly, I would agree. I think that it should be done only if there is an imminent invasion. Then it's definitely necessary. It is. But in the current situation, we're just trying to bomb stuff to create possible suffering, or a definite suffering, just because we can, and we think that's going to put pressure on them, when in reality, we definitely know that it won't. And so I hope that does address that the best I can, at least from what I knew. And with that, we reach the end of tonight's stream. Holy moly, what a night it has been, folks. Goodness, we had 17.3 thousand people here at the peak. Holy. And we also had 126,000 people watch the stream before it ended. Crazily enough, like just for you to hear, Matthew, we had a couple of thousand less live viewers tonight, yet we ended up with the same number of viewers. I don't know how that makes sense. I don't even know. But anyways, beyond that though, I thank you all so much once again for watching. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to be able to have all of y'all here tonight, and we hope y'all have enjoyed this greatly. If y'all have, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the news from around the world. And if there is a short war video to be made, I will be the one making that short war video. And so with that, good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, Slava Ukraini, Huram Slava, long live the Lee Spring Army, and long live the Republic.
And with that, folks, we will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern for the next Nightly War News stream at the usual time, of course, and maybe for a midday short war video if there is big enough news to cover, and we hope to see you all on both of those as well. Also, the bots, they love to flood in right here at the very end, and they love to take Matt jabs, so we're going to call them Matt jabs now. That's what we call them, Sherry, Matt jabs. But anyways, though, we'll see you all tomorrow, and a huge shout out to the 126,000 plus people that were here by the very end of the stream. We appreciate you all for once again choosing us as your news source. And we hope that every single day we're getting better and better. There's always something to improve on, and it's time to go harder each and every day. Go harder, they say. Go harder, sir. But anyways, though, we'll see you all tomorrow. And of course, Slava Ukraine. Huram Slava. Get some rest, and good night.
Army shall